Chapter 60-71. The Lord of the Abyss was a little embarrassed. After glancing at Jian Wushuang, he said, "Yi Tian, this senior is looking for you, not me." Yi Tian turned his head and glanced at Jian Wushuang. He was a little surprised. He was so young and he couldn't feel his existence. Even the Lord of the Abyss was called senior, and he reacted immediately and exclaimed, "Could it be that the senior is Nine Tribulations realm?" The ignorant Yi Tian did not know that Jian Wushuang was still the master of the Seven Tribulations realm universe. Jian Wushuang shook his head with a wry smile and explained himself. "Yi Xiaoyu, I am not the Nine Tribulation realm, and we do not have the Nine Tribulation realm universe master in the northern time and space. A person called Tiansong exists, and he will tell you everything." "No Nine Tribulations realm?" Yi Tian was still reminiscing about the first sentence, and then thought of Jian Wushuang's explanation, and quickly thanked. "Thank you, senior, for your guidance." It was only then that he remembered that Jian Wushuang was looking for him. So he asked, "I don't know what the senior is looking for with the junior. The boy is willing to help. I need your help with something. I don't know if I can cut my love," Jian Wushuang said very euphemistically, but he didn't it. Even with so many people watching, he couldn't afford to lose that person. A little guy in the Six Tribulations realm got the beast divine weapon, and he can buy it completely. Throwing a treasure at random can make people jealous in the Eight Tribulations realm. It can be said that it is very simple to buy a treasure from a little guy who is the master of the Six Tribulations realm universe. Yi Tian's heart trembled when he heard it, and he suddenly realized that this was a forced buy and forced sale. The key is that he really has an inalienable treasure. It was the treasure of his life, and an indispensable treasure on his cultivation path. It could never be sold. Once he lost that treasure, his cultivation path would almost come to an end. No matter how strong Jian Wushuang was, and how many treasures he gave, he would not betray him. But what can he do in the face of the strong? Jian Wushuang is not a fool either. He clearly sees the other party's entanglement, and does not speak, waiting for the other party's reply. "This treasure, I will take everything with me today." Seeing the other party's hesitation, Huiqing whispered into his voice at this time. "You don't have to hesitate, little friend. The treasure we want is not the treasure of your life. We just want the treasure you got from the abyss." Treasures in the abyss? Yi Tian was stunned for a moment, then thought of the strange thing he got in the abyss. A blood cloak. No wind, automatic, incomparable majesty. Unicorn armor. When he first got it, because he was still the lord of the ordinary universe, the source was strong enough to activate the treasure, but he couldn't use it anymore. Because he was curious about the source in the treasure, he split the unicorn armor, leaving the source behind on the body, but the unicorn armor was robbed because of a battle. Jian Wushuang frowned when he heard the result, secretly scolding the other party as a prodigal. "Can't you go and cultivate the source if you can't keep up with it?" Demolished. It was taken away during the battle. The origin has been stripped away, and there is probably no more aura of the beast above the unicorn armor. Where does he go to find it? If the senior is interested in that treasure, the junior is willing to give the source of it to the senior. As for the unicorn armor being robbed by a Seven Tribulation realm powerhouse in Jufeng time and space, I can't do anything about it. Yi Tian finished speaking carefully. He took out the source of the beast god. After handing it to Jian Wushuang, he stepped back again. Jian Wushuang held the blood-red source, and thought of a super treasure that the old man with horns introduced to him. "Kiran, one of the 9 beasts, it's a cloak. Now only the source is left, and the unicorn armor is lost. How could I covet something from a younger generation of you? I think this treasure is enough to buy the origin of this beast's god." Jian Wushuang took out a wooden box and deliberately opened the box before handing it to the other party, and introduced, "There is a heavenly eye spring orb here, which will help you to transcend the 7th calamity. I think your divine power has reached the perfect level. With this spring orb, you are 90% sure that you will succeed in transcending the calamity." Yi Tian, who had to shirk a little, heard that the success rate of crossing the 7th calamity was 90%. His eyes widened, and he hurriedly stepped forward to take it. He was so shocked that he forgot to go to Xiejian Wushuang. It was the Lord of the Abyss who reminded him. Yi Tian is not too quick to thank the seniors for his kindness. Thank you, senior. Yi Tian's expression changed, and he put on a respectful face and bowed. Jian Wushuang waved his hand. He had no interest in this set. He was just doing a fair deal. There was no need to look like he was grateful. Although this world is inherently unfair, the most fair is that the strong are respected. But sometimes after reaching a certain level, there will still be changes. For example, Huiqing will take pity on the weak. Tongtian Buddha fell into the devil's way in order to make a breakthrough in strength. As for himself, he didn't have too many ideas. It was just an ordinary transaction. Although it can be used to bully others, it is absolutely unnecessary. If he kills indiscriminately, he will attract countless powerful opponents. By the way, you still have to be by my side for a while. I need you to help me find a strong man in the Seven Tribulations realm to retrieve the unicorn armor. Jian Wushuang's words changed, and he continued. But I won't let you sorry. I can give you some pointers on your practice during this time. As soon as Yi Tian heard that he was just taking the lead, he could make an abyss master respectfully and give him some pointers. This was the biggest chance he had encountered in recent years. He agreed without thinking about it. Down. Jian Wushuang was not surprised by this. He turned his head and said to the Lord of the Abyss, "Let's go, it's time to harass you." "Where? It's my honor that you can come to the humble house." The Lord of the Abyss was very humble, took the initiative to lead, and took Jian Wushuang and everyone into the other core of the Abyss. It is also the lair of the Lord of the Abyss. However, Jian Wushuang didn't stay long, and after getting the treasure, he left in a hurry. The advance of Wuxia and others made him a little worried. Because of the exposure of strength, I am afraid that it will make enough preparations for destruction, so it has to be fast. Flowing cloud boots. A pair of ancient cyan boots, containing the power of a dragon's roar, is the blue dragon among the 9 great beasts. After getting this beast magic weapon, he already has 3.5 pieces on him. The unicorn cloak is not yet complete, but it is almost there. The other party is the Lord of the Seven Tribulations realm universe, and cannot be avoided. If it is an emperor, I am afraid that there is still some trouble, and Huiqing needs to deduce it, but a master of the Seven Tribulations realm universe cannot hide. Whoa! Tearing the space apart, they arrived at the Jufeng time and space almost instantly. This place is Juyang Immortal Venerable's site. Before he entered, he also informed him that he was an acquaintance no matter what. Chapter 60-72. When you go to someone else's territory, you have to say hello no matter what, let alone treasures. Of course, it can't be said to be robbed, only that the property is returned to its original owner. It was the other party who robbed Yi Tian's treasures because of his strength. As Yi Tian's senior, he would it over again with his strength, which was very reasonable. The Lord of Standard Chartered? Weird name. I found him. His thought power covered the entire Jufeng time and space, and he locked the opponent's position almost instantly. On a secluded star, still at the edge of Jufeng's time and space, Jian Wushuang was surprised that a master of the Seven Tribulations realm universe practiced on such a desolate planet. When he arrived, there was still a group of alien powerhouses living on this planet. Senior, the master of Standard Chartered, is an alien. If it wasn't for the protection of Juyang Immortal Venerable, he would have been beheaded by my strong human race. Yi Tian was talking about the master of Standard Chartered. Jian Wushuang was a little moved. The master of Standard Chartered that he saw was a kind old man, who was carefully teaching those strong aliens how to cultivate and how to survive, especially to survive among the strong human race. This group of aliens living in the cracks of the strong human race is far less nourishing than the upstream time and space. Because the upstream time and space look at the strength of individuals, never the strength of ethnic groups. As long as you are super strong, no matter your origin, you will be respected. But the time and space in the middle reaches are different, and it is difficult for the strong aliens to survive. It is also the giant clan like Juyang Xianzuan, who can dominate one side, change to another ethnic group, and have been besieged long ago, because the giant gods come from the starry sky, is the first group, so it will be respected. This is also the reason why the Lord of Standard Chartered took refuge under Juyang Immortal Venerable. Yi Tian, go and call him over. Jian Wushuang's tone was calm. He wanted to grab it directly, but it was not easy to see the other party. Hard work. Just like him. No one pity him, but he will pity others. After Yi Tian heard it, his face was overjoyed, and he immediately rushed down. Standard Chartered, Standard Chartered, Standard Chartered. Yi Tian's voice resounded throughout the planet. The master of Standard Chartered, who was still preaching to many different races, turned pale and looked up at Yi Tian. Also noticed Jian Wushuang and Hui Qing, two breathless powerhouses hiding in the void. Of course, it is just a simple concealment. If it is a deep concealment, the master of Standard Chartered cannot detect it. But even so, if he hadn't caught it with the naked eye, he wouldn't have found it. The master of Standard Chartered immediately stood up, and in a flash he appeared in front of Yi Tian. After glancing at Jian Wushuang and Hui Qing, he said respectfully, "It's Jian Wushuang and Senior Hui Qing. Lord Xianzuan has already explained it, you two will come." Oh, Jian Wushuang was a little surprised. He just told Juyang Immortal Venerable that he would go to Jufeng time and space to find a treasure. But he didn't say who it was. Can this be expected? Or a reminder of the Lord of the Abyss? It should not be the Lord of the Abyss, and the two were at odds. It is even more impossible to predict. Juyang Immortal Venerable is not Hui Qing. Just when he hesitated, a familiar breath appeared from the Lord of Standard Chartered. The air of twilight lingers in the sky. Xuanwu Shield Kong. The master of Standard Chartered respectfully held it in his hands and said, Junior learned that Senior is looking for the same treasure, and is willing to offer Shield Kong. When Jian Wushuang saw this divine beast soldier, his expression was solemn, but he didn't say anything, and just called it over. After stroking the Xuanwu among the 9 great beast divine weapons, he finally understood. The main function of this beast magic weapon is to isolate everything. It can achieve the effect of Jedi Tiantong. No wonder he couldn't feel it. The key point is that he did not expect the other party to have this treasure. I'm afraid this has something to do with Juyang Immortal Venerable. Frasa knew that he had a beast soldier, and this matter should have been mentioned to Juyang Immortal Venerable, or even to the master of Standard Chartered. So this time when he said he was going to Jufeng time and space, Juyang Immortal Venerable notified the master of Standard Chartered and took the initiative to send the treasure back. For Jian Wushuang, it was like stepping through the iron shoes and finding nowhere to find it without any effort. Suddenly there was one more. Just an accidental delivery. This is the Huoyun cloak Qilin. The master of Standard Chartered took out the Huoyun cloak that Yi Tian grabbed and handed it over to Jian Wushuang again. Jian Wushuang had no need to hide, and nodded. You actually know where the origin of the unicorn is in Yi Tian? I know, I knew it when I fought with little friend Yi Tian. This time, it was Yi Tian's turn to wonder. Since you know, why don't you take away the source as well? I'm not a strong human race, things are too extreme, it's not good. The Lord of Standard Chartered shook his head helplessly. Yi Tian took a deep breath, and never thought that a master of the universe of the 7 tribulations would have such scruples when dealing with the master of the universe of 6 tribulations. In a world where the strong are respected, if they are all humans, I am afraid that even the son of the Lord of the Abyss will be robbed. But the master of Standard Chartered is so humble. Jian Wushuang felt bitter for the other party, flipped through his own source, took out a mustard seed and said, You take this, the treasure is bought by me, although it is a bit forced to sell. I sold it by force, but this treasure is of great use to me, so it can be considered as compensation for you. No. Juyang Immortal Venerable has already made a promise that he can no longer ask for the treasure of his predecessors. The master of Standard Chartered hurriedly shied away. Speaking of which, this time the transaction was voluntary, because Juyang Immortal Venerable promised him that in the future, all the alien races in Jufeng time and space can come under his command, and he will also give 1/10 of the domain to him. This will be an opportunity for their alien rise. It is much more important to him than a treasure of the 8 tribulations. Jian Wushuang also saw the other's scruples and explained, I am not a practitioner of the middle reaches of time and space. You can hold these treasures, and no one will trouble you. After the Master of Standard Chartered heard this, he turned his head and glanced at the little guys on the planet. He felt warm in his heart and did not delay. After taking the mustard seeds, he bowed deeply to Jian Wushuang. If it is stuck in the throat, there are already thousands of words, and I can't say the slightest, so I can only bury it in my heart. When he got up again, the figures of Jian Wushuang and others had disappeared. He was the only one left, standing hesitantly in the void at a loss. As soon as his thoughts moved, he glanced at the treasure in the mustard seeds. His expression changed greatly, and after looking around, he flew back to the planet in ecstasy. Jufeng is beyond time and space. The 2 seniors, let's part here. Jian Wushuang nodded and said, It's not the time you're missing, remember? Remember. Yi Tian nodded excitedly. Agreeing to his advice, Jian Wushuang also did it. It's time to part. Go. Jian Wushuang took the initiative to open a space-time channel for the opponent. Chapter 6073. When you reach the upstream time and space, you can go to the ancient tomb sect, or you can go to the Tiansong Palace, and just report my name. The kindness of the seniors, the juniors will remember. Yi Tian's eyes were excited, and after taking a deep look at Jian Wushuang, he turned around and entered the time-space tunnel. This time, the 2 divine beast weapons were bought from practitioners. Although it was a strong buy and strong sell, he also gave the other party enough benefits. Shouldn't hate him. At least he thought so. Originally, he was going to send it away together with the Lord of Standard Chartered. But when the other party said the promise of Juyang Immortal Venerable, he could see a ray of light in the eyes of the Lord of Standard Chartered. It is concern and faith. So I didn't mention it. I just gave the other party enough treasures. Those treasures can help the owner of Standard Chartered to fulfill his dream. Brother Wushuang, you have changed. Looking at everything, Huiqing looked at him with a smile on his face. Jian Wushuang said with a smile, Sometimes think about it, as if we have no enemies at all. Maybe we can all sit down and negotiate calmly, just like Yi Tian and the Master of Standard Chartered. The beast soldiers may also be the key to them, but they take the initiative to negotiate. In fact, the combat power is dominant. But to make them have no regrets, or enough compensation, if I can dedicate my life to the extinction, I am afraid the other party will also be grateful to me. Haha, the last sentence made Huiqing laugh. In fact, there is another reason why Yi Tian and the Master of Standard Chartered are so dedicated. One is Yi Tian, and he is a loose cultivator. If you want to help each other, you still need to provide a better environment. Teacher Xuani also helped him in the same way. As for the Master of Standard Chartered, it is different. From the other side, he saw the shadow of the Realm King. The 2 have nothing to do with each other, but what they have done is enough to be admired. The Realm King did his best for the sake of the northern time and space, and even in the face of a demigod Beirut, he seemed very humble. He was insulted by the other party, and did not dare to retaliate. He had to go to the rescue. The final decision was not in his hands. North time and space is already low-key enough, and there are still countless wealthy wolves staring at it. The Lord of Standard Chartered, for the sake of the same clan, is careful to deal with the Lord of the Universe in the 6 Tribulations realm. The 2 have different identities and status, but have different experiences. That's why he wants to help each other. Just didn't say it. By the way, I just sensed the breath of the pyramid. Brother Wuzhua and the others should not have left the middle reaches of time and space. Huiqing suddenly thought of the breath he had just sensed, and hurriedly reminded, Come over now, we should be able to go back together. Okay. He immediately asked Huiqing to guide him, and he rushed to the junction of the middle and lower reaches at full speed. Where is the pyramid? It's just that the breath has been isolated from the midstream time and space. Jian Wushuang couldn't sense it. It was also performed by Huiqing. It has to be said that with the Zen machine, the later the effect is more obvious. If this is a treasure hunt together, then Huiqing must be offered. Simply the god of wealth. Jian Wushuang turned his head and glanced at Huiqing, thinking of Qi Temple. He really wanted Huiqing to deduce what happened to the Qi Temple, but he still didn't ask. Could Huiqing have thought of such a simple thing? Either it is unpredictable, because of the existence of extinction, the downstream spacetime is disordered and unpredictable, or predict bad things. Will eventually have one. He prefers the former. Destruction is for him. Shouldn't push down the Qi Temple. After Pingqi Temple, he doesn't have to come back. Go directly to the World God continent, and continue to live. Liuqi Temple, or to keep him. Force him to fulfill his promise. Back to Qi Temple. After possessing God's domain, he can surpass the limit at any time. And the speed has naturally doubled several times. It only took a few days to reach the intersection of the middle and lower reaches. From midstream to downstream, it's easy for him. Go with the flow. Go upstream. The powerhouses in the middle reaches of time and space rarely go downstream. In the downstream spacetime, there are more than 100 tributaries, but among these tributaries, there are not even the lords of the universe. The tributary where the original universe is located has no universe. Millions of epochs have passed now. There should be many masters of the universe born. Before they left, the business had become a calamity. As long as he doesn't fall, he is now at least the master of the universe of the 5 tribulations, or 6 tribulations. He still recognizes the potential of the businessman. Apart from him and Huiqing, he is definitely the most potential inheritor among the inheritors of the Qi Temple. Guarantee the realm of 5 tribulations. If you are quicker, you can reach the realm of 6 tribulations. If you had followed them to the upstream time and space, the achievements would be no less than theirs. At least the 7 tribulation realm, or even the 8 tribulation realm. Huiqing became the realm of 8 tribulations because the goddess scattered her origin and gave it to Huiqing. However, Shang's background is much deeper than theirs. He has cultivated millions of epochs in the upstream time and space. And with the opportunity given by the Realm King, it is not difficult to become the 8 tribulations realm. Pity. The other party was left for them. Back then, when he took so many people away, the Qi Temple faced the Temple of Destruction, and there was no strong man who could take it. If Shang also leaves, then there is no leader in Qi Temple. The 4 main hall masters are all puppets. There is no room for improvement. They are not practitioners, and they will eventually be lonely. Practitioners are getting stronger. They are getting weaker. Call. Crossing the panting river, Jian Wushuang finally saw what the downstream spacetime looked like. Hundreds of tributaries spread to all directions. Incredibly spectacular. Compared with the midstream, the downstream has more space. It's just that there are more badlands. The tributaries are also very small. The living space is also smaller. But the overall space is the largest. 10 times larger than the midstream spacetime. 100 times larger than the upstream spacetime. A lot of space is actually not good. This will make the source power cover thinner. Downstream time and space. The reason why the start is so slow is also the reason. In the upstream time and space, the space is small, and the power of the source is relatively much stronger. In fact, there is still a way to improve. That is to refine the origin of the downstream spacetime. It's just that this is so hard. The universe gods can't do it. Not to mention refining hundreds of time and space rivers. It is difficult to refine even one. With this kung fu, it is better to light up your own universe. Jian Wushuang would not waste this time doing such silly things. Not to mention that the Realm King is willing to give up his love. Even if it is an accompanying treasure, he is not willing. Only by refining the downstream spacetime and turning it into one's own origin dojo can the overall strength be improved. There is precedent for this. The northern time and space do not have it, but the rest of the time and space do. That is a special existence, and he is a superpower among the universe gods. Then he refined the origin of his time and space. His strength has reached an unfathomable level, and he is an absolute powerhouse in the starry sky. He still heard this from Weiss. Chapter 60-74. Too far away from him. Brother Wuxia? Swish! After Pyramid felt the breath of him and Hui Qing, he took the initiative to fly over. Wuxia walked out first, and he was relieved when he saw that he and Hui Qing were all right. Why did you stop here? Hey, don't mention it, go ahead and take a look. Wuxia sighed, pointed to the front and said, You will know when you see it. Jian Wushuang's figure moved, and he instantly reached the position Wuxia said. Where is the enchantment of the downstream spacetime? After passing through the enchantment, you can reach the downstream. The home world is just a step away. But when he saw the enchantment, he was stunned. Originally it should be the enchantment of spacetime condensation, but it turned black. Death's door? Jian Wushuang instantly thought of a magical sight he heard. Represents the enchantment of death. Go through and you will fall. Wuxia should also know. Otherwise he has already been recruited. The game played by children. Dishing actually wants to use it to calculate against me. It seems that he has not prepared much. He was only slightly surprised, and didn't care too much. Death's Gate sounds scary. Actually that's what happened. If you pass through it rashly, the life force will be swallowed up. The immediate fall of weakness. Below the 7 tribulations realm, life will be dead, but it will not affect the divine power. If Wuxia and others rush through, they should be isolated by the pyramid and nothing will happen. Even if you don't use the pyramid, if you pass through it, you will lose some life force at most, and then get infected with the force of death. This is more troublesome, and needs to be removed carefully. If you are not careful, you may endanger the source. Wuxia was not sure about this, so he stopped, mainly wanting to wait for Jian Wushuang to come along. It also has a bottom in my heart. Does he look down on us? Or is he trying to cover up something? Jian Wushuang frowned, and he couldn't see through death for a while. It doesn't seem to see through. The gate of death is okay to deal with the Lord of the Universe below the 7 tribulations realm. But if you want to count him, it is far worse. What do you mean? Wuxia, who came over, didn't understand, and looked at him in surprise. Whoa! Jian Wushuang pushed aside the barrier and said indifferently, It's nothing, just enter. Just waiting for your words. Wuxia was not polite, and walked straight in. At this time, everyone in the pyramid came out. They are about to enter the downstream time and space, and they can't sit still. Swish! When everyone entered, it was the same as when they entered the upstream space-time. Only this time they stood together. Call. The first breath came from the downstream space-time, and everyone couldn't help but reminisce. I'm back! Wuxia couldn't help shouting excitedly, startling everyone. Wutian said angrily, I came back when I came back. Why are you shouting so loudly? What? Wuxia turned his head and gave Wutian a blank look. After walking so far, you can't shout when you come back. Jian Wushuang and Hui Qing ignored them and used their mind power to probe the entire downstream. With the naked eye, you can't see anything at all. Only by probing with mind power can we see the current situation clearly. The entire downstream spacetime was shrouded in a black fog. The smell of death. The black fog moves in spite of the wind. There is a chill in the wind. Jian Wushuang stretched out his hand to grab it, but it disappeared. He turned his head to look at the pyramid. Babada. How long will it take to go to the Qi temple? And the journey will be smooth. I just checked the power of the mind, and I have found the Qishan temple. There is no change, and it is still in its original position. Guzhang just outside the original universe, there is no inheritor of Qi temple. Come to think of it, it has reached the point of shrinking. Inside the pyramid, Babada flew out, suspended in mid-air, and respectfully said, Master, the distance from the Qi temple, the pyramid needs an epoch. There is no obstacle on the way. They are all practitioners below the 7 tribulations realm, and there is no danger. Too slow. Jian Wushuang shook his head. There is no way to go too far downstream. Although the speed of the pyramid is fast, it will take an epoch. But one thing is better than the middle and upper reaches, that is, you can shuttle at will. The downstream space and time are large, and the power of the source is weak. Space and time are also relatively weak. Feel free to change. Of course, it also depends on who changes it. Hiss. Everyone looked at Jian Wushuang in astonishment. The rest of the people don't know about the god's domain. Now that he has seen his divine power explode to more than 20 million, and he can change the time and space, he can't help but take a breath. I thought that Jian Wushuang was hiding too deep, and it was not revealed before. Just now, that is a divine power exceeding 20 million. Wu's voice was trembling, and he was shocked by the power of Jian Wushuang. The rest are the same. Light and shadow and backbone. Luo's complexion turned pale. The gap that I originally felt has narrowed, at least to the same realm. And they are all masters of the 7 tribulations realm universe. Why now the gap is even bigger. Their divine power did not exceed 10 million. Jian Wushuang directly surpassed 20 million. Wutian couldn't help but swallowed, unable to breathe because of his power. What are you doing? Come in. Hearing his call, everyone reacted and walked in one after another. Originally, Jian Wushuang was preparing to keep a low profile and fly over slowly, but it was all in the downstream time and space. He couldn't wait to go back to the Qi temple to see how the situation was now. At the same time, the realm of the gods was also exposed. Whoa! When everyone appeared again, they had already arrived at the Qishan temple, which they were familiar with. Great Wilderness, at the intersection of Desiyu and Tongtian Buddha realm. The Qishan temple is located here. Remember back then, once upon a time, the situation was turbulent. He and Huiqing were hunted down by an army of hundreds of millions. In the middle of Wanjun, Jian Wushuang killed from north to south, and took Huiqing to escape the siege. Because of a piece of Bodhi tree, stepping into the ranks of spiritual practitioners, he has awakened to the journey of the starry sky, and mastered the ultimate path. After breaking through Dian Immortal, Huiqing also made 9 turns in 1 step. They all have their own way. Now step forward from the beginning. Looking back, it was yesterday. Don't lose a lot of this. The original universe has also changed a lot, especially around Qi Shrine, because it is very close to Qi Shrine, plus the threat of the Demon Lord. Deshiyu is gone. Tongtian Buddha realm is gone. It was empty all around. In the depths of Desiyu, the place where all the memories of Jian Wushuang were hidden also disappeared. That was everything he had ever been. There's nothing left now. In the distance, there are only war fortresses, and countless army of practitioners are staring at the Qi temple. These practitioners are all downstream local practitioners. After entering the downstream time and space, he found that hundreds of time and space were occupied by the Temple of Destruction. Chapter 60-75. Naturally, the practitioners of the entire downstream time and space have been cultivated into their own minions. It's also ridiculous. These cultivators were actually besieging the Qi temple under the slogan of killing foreign cultivators. As everyone knows, the Temple of Destruction will really destroy the world. From a long distance, he felt the power of death emanating from the Temple of Destruction, which was interfering with the origin of the entire downstream space-time and eroding the entire downstream origin. This is a cancer. Just as everyone was recalling, an angry shout came from a distance. The strong man of Qi Temple has come out. Follow me to kill the rebels. In an instant, a group of cultivators rushed in this direction. A team of 10 people, 1 from the 2nd Tribulation Realm, and 9 from the top. These people are all practitioners in the downstream time and space, and even practitioners in the primitive universe. Now he has to attack Jian Wushuang and others. A nameless anger surged up. Jian Wushuang's eyes widened in anger, and the time and space stopped at a glance. The entire void began to die. Those cultivators who rushed to kill did not notice that their bodies were disappearing. It was not until he completely lost consciousness that he knew that he had fallen. Boom! The still space was shattered in an instant. At the edge of the void, a huge human face appeared. He glanced at everyone, and finally looked at Jian Wushuang. You're finally back. Awaited, far away. Breath collision. After repeated attempts, the fighting intentions of both sides reached their peak. There is no one who is so interested in Jian Wushuang than destiny. Don't worry, take your time. Mia Sheng's voice spread throughout time and space. The day you return is the day when my temple of murdering the world will launch a general attack on the temple of Qi. If you are still the same as before, make a small head. Turtle, then hide in Qishan Temple and never come out. This time, Jian Wushuang did not evade. He stared blankly at Mia Sheng and shouted loudly, "I'll be waiting for you." The curtain rises at this moment. The true spirits in Qishan Temple could not believe that Jian Wushuang and the others had returned. A series of familiar figures brought tears to his eyes. How many years? Era after epoch passed, and he was about to give up. Fan Tianfeng, who was the first to return, has been dead for an unknown number of years. He thought that others would come back soon, but he was afraid to come back and follow in Fan Tianfeng's footsteps. Heart has been tangled. Now that I see Jian Wushuang and Mixing's toughness, I also have confidence in my heart. He waited too long for this moment. Jian Wushuang was a little curious about why Mixing was afraid of him hiding. When he hid in Qishan Temple at the beginning, it was because of his lack of strength. At that time, Mixing had just recovered, and his strength was not very good. It's been all these years. How could extinguishing God still be afraid of him hiding? Is Qi Temple really that strong? Can you stop death? He was a little unsure, so he had to ask Jinling. Destroyed and retreated, the true spirit appeared. Thinking of the scene of farewell at the beginning, how similar it is to this time. One will succeed in a million bones. The true spirit does not believe. Jian Wushuang didn't believe it either. This time they came back completely. If it hadn't been for Fan Tianfeng to come back privately, plus Zemyang had changed too much in Wanlu Shenmu and didn't want to return. He can bring people back together. But enough is enough for now. After returning from his studies, he vowed to be a dragon slayer. Came back. After the meeting, Zhenling was not so excited, and some were just bitter. Can watch Jian Wushuang and others come back alive. He was very happy. This is the biggest support in his heart over the years. Jian Wushuang and the others did not return for a day, so he had hope. It's back, everyone said at the same time. Guyan Zhenling wanted to laugh, but there were tears on his face, and his voice was hoarse. Just come back and save me. Walk home. Going home together. Everyone couldn't help but sigh. In the upstream space and time, there has never been a sense of belonging. Right now this is home. Jian Wushuang's former home could not be defended, and now only the Qi Temple is left. Qi Temple opened wide. Everyone followed Jinling back to the most familiar place. For secret realms, a lot has changed. There are more people. There are more strong ones. Originally, the Qi Shrine and the Destruction Shrine were in a split situation. Later, the front line continued to shrink, and finally shrunk together. All entered the Qi Temple. It just hasn't brought everyone in. After entering the special treasure of Qishan Temple, the Lord of the Universe can no longer improve. Fortunately, the original Master of the Universe brought all the universe to the Qishan Temple. Otherwise, in the outside world, it will definitely be destroyed by the powerhouses of the Temple of Destruction. Tomb God Mountain. Jinling took them to the Tomb God Mountain first. Where you left? In front of the tomb. As before, everyone offered incense and worshipped. I knew you would come back, and I've finally been looking forward to today. After Jinling recovered his emotions, he resisted and said excitedly, "Do you know how many years I have waited for this day?" He looked back at the crowd and said word by word, "I've waited for 5 million epochs, and am just waiting for today to blow the horn of a counterattack." Jinling waved his hand. A huge map appeared in front of everyone. "Look here." He pointed to a red mark and said, "This is the location of the Temple of Destruction. Around the red mark, there are many dark red marks. Obviously they are all huge war fortresses, waiting for them to clear." When Fan Tianfeng came back, I was very happy. I pointed it to her at first, but unfortunately she never came back. Zhenling sighed. "If he never returns, he will die in battle." "Where?" "I don't want you to follow in her footsteps." Zhenling shook his head and said, "This time, you must be fully prepared, and it's time to tell you all the secrets of Qishan Temple, because this is the last chance. Jian Wushuang and others are the greatest support of Qi Temple. Zhenling should also let go." He turned his head to look at the crowd, and listed out the past and present life of Qishan Temple one by one. Qi God. Since the beginning of its fall, The source of this qi temple has been refined. Why refine? Everyone knows this is to make the inheritance of Qishan great again. Actually not. There is another reason. That's to guard against one person. Extinct. Qishan cooperates with Dusheng. This is true. Over the years, Zhenling has also found useful information from it. But why guard against it? Since they have all cooperated, why should they guard against the destruction of life? And even create a real spirit incarnation. A true spirit that is different from Qishan's character. And even the future he has planned. Isn't that tripping yourself up? True spirits doubted themselves. At first he almost took refuge in annihilation. However, he got the answer from the inner demon. The inner demon that Jian Wushuang captured at the beginning changed everything. Qi God. One not one. Differing. This is the reason why the Qidu tribulation failed. People have two sides, and they all know this. But no one can cut both sides. But Kasami did it. He cut out his greedy side. That is the way of devouring. His good side was left to the Qi God temple. Chapter 60-76. He took the Qi temple as a way back. So it will prevent death. To the point of destroying life, it is impossible to enter Qishan temple. The other side cooperates with Di Shengsheng in order to devour oneself. Although cut but never give up. 3 demon lords. Shanjun Gujun Demon Jun. It can also be merged again. This is his cooperation with Dusheng. It was for this reason that Miesheng took Shanjun and others away. Press treasure on both sides. Evil. 2 rape. For Qishan, whoever wins is the same. In the end, he was the biggest winner. After successfully destroying life and mastering reincarnation, Qishan can be completely revived. If Zhenling wins, then he will continue his path, and Qishan temple will definitely be great again. The most important thing is that he knows that destroying life is the of death. Then it is the God of life who defeats the annihilation of life. Death consumes life and creates reincarnation. The end of life and death can also create reincarnation. Always win. Simply win. Everyone nodded. It's really the roaring dog who recognizes the master. Open my eyes again. Wuxia couldn't help exclaiming. I didn't expect the master to be so perfect. I really admire it. Zhenling sneered. Don't look at who it is, otherwise I can be so smart. I inherited the wisdom of Qishan, unlike the 3 major devils. All of them are stupid, and now they are all. He was talking about his excitement, but when he thought of the relationship between Jian Wushuang and Shan Jun, he couldn't say more. What is the strength of the Temple of Destruction? Jian Wushuang didn't care about this, but asked about the Temple of Destruction. As for the matter of Qishan, he had already guessed 7 or 8, but now he heard it as if he had not heard it. The only thing that surprised him was that Qishan was able to prevent death by himself. Is this still a half-step 8 tribulation realm? Able to block the true of the stars? Simply incredible. I am afraid there is an unspeakable secret, but unfortunately the true spirit does not know it. He was really curious about how to restrain a true of the stars. When Zhenling heard him mention this, he beckoned everyone to say it in a different place. There is no change from the past, and it is still on the top of the tomb god. Inside the Guanyin pavilion, the people are seated. Swish. They had just sat down when a familiar figure descended, with a strange woman. Business. Jian Wushuang stood up with a smile on his face. Dongsheng and Wanyan also got up together. They were both old acquaintances. Long time no see. Hui Qing also got up to greet him. On the contrary, Wuxia was a little swollen. He glanced at Shang with his legs crossed, then turned to look at the strange woman next to Shang, and said in surprise, I have never seen this fellow Taoist with such a strong strength. Could it be the inheritance of the 2nd generation? Bye. Cough cough. Zhenling coughed dryly. If it wasn't for the sake of Wuxia's return, he would have to slap the other party's head, restrain the thoughts in his heart, and said indifferently, Shang, you first introduce, come on. As millions of epochs passed, Shang became more and more introverted. This has always been the case in the past. Now that so many years have passed, it has not changed at all, and it is still so calm. He is also the leader of the practitioners, and the pride of the inheritors. Seeing Jian Wushuang's return, He changed his normal state, and his eyes were full of excitement, but he still pressed his excitement and said solemnly, "Her name is Luo. She is the Taoist companion and the master of the Vermilion Bird Palace." Lo, the lord of the Vermilion Bird Palace. Taoist. Jian Wushuang could see through the opponent's strength at a glance. The peak powerhouse of the Seven Tribulations realm. Very young. Through a trace of cause and effect, he saw the other person's life. In fact, the time of cultivation is not as long as they are. Guyanshi came from another time and space. At the beginning, the Qi temple expanded all the way and occupied several tributaries. It was at that time that Shang also met Luo. At that time, Luo was already the master of the universe. She first competed with Shang, and then the two came together because of Taoism. "I've seen you all." Luo slowly bowed his body, revealing a smile. "It looks absolutely beautiful." Seeing this scene, Wanyan thought of her Taoist companion, and her heart sank. "Xia Jian Wushuang, I have seen my sister-in-law. Under the original universe, Dongsheng. Under the original universe, Wanyan. In Xiatongshan Buddha realm, Huiqing. That's why they are so polite." The rest of the people signed up. After getting to know each other, Zhenling gave Shang a wink, indicating that it was time to start. About the Temple of Destruction. Shang began to talk about the Temple of Destruction. From the moment they left to the present, everything has been said. When Jian Wushuang and the others just left, the number of powerhouses in the Temple of Destruction was similar to that of the Temple of Qi. But at that time, the Qishan Temple had already developed for an era. The Temple of Destruction has only just begun, and it will be able to draw a tie with the Temple of Qi. The gap then widened. While the Qi Temple is still fighting for those resource points, the powerhouses of the Temple of Destruction are practicing in seclusion. The number of strong people doubles in almost every epoch. When the gap was the biggest, the devil was born. Six Tribulation Realm powerhouse. Almost destroyed those sect forces outside Qi Temple. Fortunately, business breakthroughs are also fast. From the first Tribulation Realm to the sixth Tribulation Realm, it only took a few epochs. This is beyond the crowd. It also made everyone look at Shang again, not so arrogant. They all have the opportunity bestowed by the Realm King. Merchants are fighting for their lives. The devil, Shang Ren sighed. When the devil came the words behind are heavy. Even Wu Tian also leaked respect. The original battle. Many people have fallen. Many of them are their friends. For example, Ji Chaoyang, who had just become the Lord of the Universe, buried himself in order to cover the retreat of the Emperor. The body was torn apart by the devil, and even a corpse capital was not left behind. When Huiqing heard this, he folded his hands together and silently recited the Buddhist scriptures for Ji Chaoyang. In front of me, I also recalled how I got along with each other day and night. The demon lord broke free from the suppression of the primordial universe, and the strength of the Temple of Destruction completely surpassed the Temple of Qi. Later, Shang reluctantly resisted. The battle lines are also shrinking again and again, until it shrinks to the inside of Qishan Temple. What is the strength of the devil now? He saw that both Shang and Luo were the masters of the Seven Tribulations realm universe, and Zhenling also regarded them as successors, and their strength was not weak. Can this stop the devil? It doesn't make sense. Could it be that the demon lord merged with Shanjun? Shang also saw Jian Wushuang's surprise and explained. The most terrifying enemy of the Temple of Destruction is not the demon lord, but Broly and Jiang Shang. These two people are the same as Shang and Luo in Qishan Temple. But he is stronger. It has reached the half-step 8 Tribulations realm level. In addition, there are 10 demon generals in the Temple of Destruction. Each has the top combat power of the 7 Tribulations realm. On the other hand, in the Qi Temple, there are only 2 lords of the 7 Tribulations realm universe. There are not many masters of the universe in the 6 Tribulations realm. Chapter 60-77. This gap is really too big. But, for Jian Wushuang and others, the so-called powerhouses of the Temple of Destruction are not worth mentioning at all. In the 7 Tribulation realm, there is not even an 8 robbery realm. There is no need for Jian Wushuang to take action. Any of them can crush the entire Qi temple. What Jian Wushuang is really worried about is death. Not interested in these minions. There is no 8 tribulations realm? Wuxia frowned and sighed. I thought there was something extraordinary out of the Temple of World Destruction. It turns out that there is not even an 8 tribulations realm. That's too boring. Seeing Wuxia's beating, Jian Wushuang and the others didn't say anything. It's not quite what they thought. Miesheng is also a true of the starry sky, and he has not even cultivated the 8 tribulations realm. Some are beyond words. Given a few million epochs to the realm king, the 8 tribulations realm will be able to cultivate a group. There is no shortage of treasures and inheritance even in death. Why didn't even the 8 tribulations realm appear? Zhenling felt a little embarrassed. It seemed that they were rubbish. They couldn't even solve the 7 tribulation realm, let alone the 8 tribulation realm. Especially seeing the disappointed expressions on Wuxia and others' faces made him even more uncomfortable. I understand, each of you has unique skills, and you don't care about your opponents below the 8 tribulations realm, right? Zhenling glanced at everyone and said eagerly, Tell me, how are your strengths now? In fact, there is no need to ask. He can also see that everyone is unusual. In particular, Jian Wushuang and Huiqing could not see through at all. They were at least half a step in the 8 tribulations realm, and even comparable to the super powerhouses of the 8 tribulations realm. The same goes for Wuxia and the others. Each of them exudes the aura of the 7 tribulations realm, and their divine power fluctuates over 2 million. Shang and Luo also looked at everyone curiously. Both of them are the masters of the 7 tribulations realm universe. And they can also see that everyone is different. Cough cough. Wuxia coughed twice, cleared his throat and said indifferently, It's normal. I just got some inheritance and became the master of the universe in the 7 tribulations realm. I'm ashamed to say that Shang didn't go to the upper time and space. All being able to become the masters of the 7 tribulations realm universe. It seems that we are a bit like eating dry rice. Brother Wuxia is too polite, although everyone is the master of the 7 tribulations realm universe. But I can see the difference in divine power. Shang was very modest, but seeing everyone's calm expressions, he also had confidence in his heart, this time really going to succeed. The rescue soldiers who had been waiting for countless years finally came. It is imminent to remove the Temple of Destruction. Luo was also very curious. She could see that everyone was the master of the 7 tribulations realm universe. But she couldn't see through their divine bodies. And everyone felt like a majestic mountain, and could not be peeped. It is obviously the same level, but it feels a lot different. Especially Wuxia and Wutian. Just seeing each other with the naked eye is like seeing an abyss. As for Jian Wushuang and Huiqing, they have both reached the ultimate restraint, but they feel that their temperament is unusual, and there is no trace of divine power at all. The same is true of the true spirit. Although he is the controller of the Qi temple, he can see at the most that Wuxia and Wutian have different divine powers. Huiqing couldn't see anything. Either they surpassed them too much, or they practiced some kind of secret technique to cover up their breath. Okay, let's not talk about this for now. It's a great blessing for me to come back to the Qi temple. Today, I want to talk about the death of life. I have already asked Long Yi to prepare a dinner party, and we must celebrate it. Ling has an unprecedented ease, and his complexion is much better. Haven't felt this way in years, although the threat of annihilation is still there. Within a day or two, Jian Wushuang also nodded and said, I don't know how many of those familiar faces are still alive. There are indeed very few inheritors of your group. True Spirit's eyes glow. The venue for the banquet was in the heaven, not the tomb god mountain. Guji, this place is also not suitable for the wind. Back to heaven again. Looking around, it has already been turned upside down. Yuanyang Palace is still there. It's just that those people are gone. Today's Yuanyang Palace has surpassed the 4 halls, and has become the #1 force in Qishan Temple. Even the inheritors of the tomb sacred mountain can't compare. Because the threshold of the inheritor has been raised a lot, although there are many strong people, but the number is rare. Yuanyang Palace, on the other hand, took the route of being taught without distinction. At the beginning, it recruited disciples in the downstream time and space, and went out of a lot of calamities. The current palace lord is Luo. Luo is also the Yuanyang palace that he entered. Shangzhe is the leader of the Tomb God Mountain, and the leader of the entire Qi Temple. As for the fourth hall, the organization has long been disrupted, and the original puppet hall masters all retreated behind the scenes, doing some trivial things. Today, the four hall masters are the masters of the universe of the six tribulations realm. Even the hall master of Yuanyang Palace is in the six tribulations realm. Everyone went to Yuanyang Island and entered the main hall. There are a lot of familiar figures on both sides, but most of them are unfamiliar faces. After all, it was only an epic at the time. What follows is the precipitation of millions of epics. Among the familiar figures, most of them are ordinary robbery realms, and some are emperors. Under the washing of millions of epics, there have been the lords of the universe, and there are also disappointed ones. When they saw Jian Wushuang and the others returning like heroes, there was light in their eyes. A beam of light shone on the face of the first generation of inheritors, proved that they lived through those years. The inheritor who came all the way from the original star. I have experienced all kinds of adventures in the four secret realms, as well as the threat of the Temple of Destruction, sharpened the light on them. These lights appeared on Jian Wushuang and others. Wan Xing, it would be great if you were still alive. After seeing the brilliance of Jian Wushuang and others, a lonely woman thought of the Daojun Wan Xing, who was side by side with Jian Wushuang and others. Unfortunately, it has fallen. In addition to these frustrated old inheritors, there are also some young inheritors who are hesitant or resentful, and even second-generation inheritors. They are not optimistic about Jian Wushuang and others. Is this the people that Lord Jinling is waiting for? The strong man in the four halls couldn't help but whispered. Why do I feel that their divine power is very ordinary? No, they are suppressing divine power. I think the weakest among them are in the seven tribulations realm, similar to the palace master. No wonder Lord Jinling waited so long and kept talking about them. It's really extraordinary. The young inheritor saw the extraordinariness of Jian Wushuang and others. That invisible coercion was by no means an ordinary powerhouse. Above the temple, the six main halls of Yuanyang Palace and the four main halls are divided on both sides. Each is a super powerhouse in the six tribulations realm. It can be regarded as the top 10 demon generals who are benchmarking against the Temple of Destruction. Chapter 60-78. The two themes above are Shang and Luo. This surprised Jian Wushuang. Looking at the posture, Shang and Luo had already emptied the true spirit, and there was no place for the true spirit seat. Shang, as the successor of Qi Temple, is also the successor. Sitting in the main seat naturally doesn't have much opinion. Unexpectedly, Luo also has such great power. Everyone take your seats. After arriving in the main hall, Shang also showed his status, and immediately waved his hands to signal everyone to take their seats. Jinling stood above the main hall, not taking a seat, just smiling at everyone. Just looking around, Jian Wushuang understood the current pattern of Qi Temple. The inheritors were disrupted to form forces. The four major halls are still the same as before, but they are only controlled by the inheritors. Then there was Yuanyang Palace, which, like Zenling's plan, was built into a force that was not weak, but would overwhelm the four halls. Finally, there is the Mountain of Tombs. The Tomb Sacred Mountain, which is led by businessmen, also has several super powerful people, which can be regarded as the power of businessmen. They were standing behind Shang, the seven lords of the universe, each of them at the peak of the six tribulations realm. Not weak, those hall masters. Jian Wushuang looked around and nodded slightly when he saw some familiar faces. Brother Wushuang, the old man of Jinling is not going to be empty. Why is he not even qualified to serve at the table? Wu Zhuo quietly voiced his thoughts. Jinling handed over the Qi Temple to Shang, which was within their expectations. Over the years, Shang has also been in the front, so naturally everyone has no opinion. And going out to see the scenery outside. In fact, there is only kindness to Qishan Temple, and there is no fighting like in the past. You too underestimate the true spirit. Jian Wushuang shook his head gently inside. At the beginning he also saw some tricks, but now he understands it. The joy and anger of the true spirit are all on his face. Judging from his relaxed and contented appearance, he knew that the Qi temple was led by Shang on the surface, but it was definitely controlled by the true spirit behind it. Don't look at those puppets. But Shang's will is even more obedient than those puppets at the beginning. It's character, and it's hard to change. Moreover, Jinling is still a master of Shang. How could it be overridden? And now the Qishan temple can be said to have endless external troubles. And there is still the mind of infighting. Just as he thought. After Shang sat down, he only introduced Jian Wushuang and others in general, and then took the initiative to introduce Jian Wushuang and others to some of the powerhouses in the Qi temple today. After some general expressions, he finally looked at Jinling, obviously waiting for the true spirit to speak. Cough cough. Jinling also understood that it was time to speak by himself. He had the most careful thoughts, so he stayed at the end. After Jian Wushuang and others got acquainted with the current powerhouses in Qishan temple, he started his own performance. I've waited for countless years for today, but he also has scruples. I am afraid that Jian Wushuang and others will change their minds. Everyone, taking this opportunity, I want to announce one thing, a major event related to the inheritance of my Qi temple. As soon as these words came out, everyone looked at the true spirit. Jian Wushuang also gently put down the wine bottle and looked at Jinling, wanting to see what tricks the little old man was going to play. True spirit's suspicion, he knows it. At the beginning, because of teacher Zuani's words, he almost killed him. I have always wondered who would destroy this long river of time and space. In the end I found out that it was me. Sorry to mention it later. Now that they are doing such a thing, I am afraid that they are not willing to contribute. Pattern. It can only be said that the pattern of Jinling is small, or that the pattern of Jian Wushuang and others is large. They were able to run over so far, and they never thought about avoiding anything. Guli, even if Zhen Wuyang chose to stay in Wanlu Shinmu, it was not because he was afraid, but it has its own circle and can't jump. No one knew what Zhen Wuyang had endured at the time. In an unfamiliar world, there is no sense of belonging, and the heart of Tao is shaken. Make the past a dream. So he didn't embarrass Zhen Wuyang. He just persuaded him a few times. Finally give up. Respect other people's choices. But for those who can choose to come back, no one is afraid of danger. At least the threats that the true spirit said were not worth fearing at all. Master Jinling, if you have anything to say, even if you speak, we are the inheritors of the Qi temple. Jian Wushuang took the lead in expressing his position when he found Jinling looking at him. His determination has always been firm. Wu Zua and others also nodded and looked at Jinling. Seeing that everyone had no opinion, he ignored the strange eyes of the second-generation inheritors. After a pause he said, I have decided to open up the position of God Lord today. God Lord. The physique established by Qishan at the beginning. Although the Qi temple has cultivated a powerhouse, no less than the original Morwa time and space over the years, it has not established a new position of God Lord. Now suddenly want to open up the position of God Lord. Many experts in the hall were surprised. Jian Wushuang and the others didn't know the reason. They were just curious. They didn't feel anything wrong. And they weren't so eager for the position of God Lord. But others don't think so. Because the sea of origin of Qi God Temple has always reserved the position of God Lord. Once you become God Lord, you can put the source universe into the sea of origin of Qi God Temple. This is what they thought. With the birth of the universe sea, the source will continue to improve. It can be said to be the perfect assistant treasure. But this place is limited. I didn't bring it up before, because once the death was overwhelmed, the Heike temple of the source could be escaped. But Jian Wushuang and the others came back, and they already had the confidence to fight. So there was no need to escape. So they had to open up the position of God Lord. God Lord. Jian Wushuang doesn't know, but Wu Zua knows. Even if he has a lot of knowledge in the upstream time and space, he is a little tempted to hear the position of the God Lord. Luo, who was sitting next to Shang, was also extremely shocked when she heard it. She was already the co-owner of Yuanyang Palace, and Yuanyuan also resided in the Sea of Yuanyuan. Naturally, she didn't think too much about the position of the Lord of God, but at this time the true spirit announcing this matter is obviously because of the return of Jian Wushuang and others. She is regarded as the inheritor of the second generation. In fact, she only has awe, not respect, for Jian Wushuang and others. Because these years, they are guarding Qi Temple. Why should the position of God Lord be given to Jian Wushuang and the others? This is also normal. No one is so selfless. How many people have died over the years? Only they know. Now it is proposed to open up the God Lord. So who is it for? There is nothing wrong with the true spirit starting from the overall situation. He just wanted to protect Qi Temple. Those who fell he remembers. Opening up the God Lord will witness the greatness and splendor of my Qi Temple again. This is the rule that was set at the beginning, and it's time to open it today. Zhenling said and pointed out, and the hall changed instantly. All the people in the hall were transported to the tomb of the gods. Qishan Dojo. Everyone is familiar with this place, because those who are qualified to enter the hall are either the Lord of the Universe or the extremely powerful Emperor, and they have all been here. Chapter 60-79. Been here at least twice. Once is the time to inherit. One time was when a super powerful person fell in Qishan Temple. When they came here, everyone was in awe. Same with Jian Wushuang. Because behind the Qishan Dojo, there is a big mountain. Or it was a tombstone. There is a picture above. Many of them are acquaintances. There are Wanxing Ji Chaoyang and their contemporaries. There are also those emperors who were revived at the beginning. Among them, Yang Sanmu, who was kind to Jian Wushuang, was the first group to fall. There is also Emperor Qiu, as well as the fifth-order emperors of the original universe, such as the gods. Too much. The portraits are their highlight moments on the battlefield. The true spirit brought them here, and many people's eyes were red. Look at it. Zhenling pointed to the countless portraits and said with trembling lips, "They can't die in vain, they can't die in vain." Jian Wushuang understood the meaning of Zhenling at this moment and whispered, "No way. It won't die in vain." Zhenling took a deep breath, turned to look at the crowd, and said, "Today, I don't want to mention the war, but seeing your appearance, I have to say that the Qishan Temple is at stake, and the position of the God Lord has to be Li, because they are the only hope of the Qi Temple. If they fail, the first person to fall will be the God Lord, then you, and I will bring you to sleep forever. Even if I fail, I will not let Mieshing step into the Qi Temple. Half a step. Lord Zhenling, you think too much." Wu Zhuo wanted to tell the true strength of Jian Wushuang and Hui Qing, but was interrupted by Zhenling. He turned his head to stare at Wu Zhuo and shouted, "Shut up." This angry shout reminded Wu Zhuo of those tragic years, and he was so frightened that he didn't dare to say more. The position of the Lord of God. I will personally open it up today. If you have any complaints, you can come to me. Zhenling's words were very firm. In fact, at this time, it is necessary to say nothing and not be so scrupulous. However, Jian Wushuang is not the kind of person to sit back and enjoy. Lord Zhenling, no merit will not be rewarded. I don't need the position of the Lord of God to prove anything. And it will not be too late to open up after I take down the source of death. Shan, I agree with Brother Wushuang. Hui Qing's eyes were clear, and he stood side by side with Jian Wushuang. Wu Zhuo also shook his head at this time and said, "Me too. The rest are like that." This scene made many second-generation inheritors reveal their respectful eyes. Zhenling's eyes were full of light, and he said excitedly, "You guys have really grown up, but it's just the position of God Lord. If Lord Zhenling insists, why don't you give a name first, and then talk about the development later?" Jian Wushuang did not expect Zhenling to be so determined, so he made a compromise. Anyway, he didn't look down on the cosmic sea in the Qi Temple. At the beginning, he didn't care much about the cosmic sea as big as the Wanlu Shenmu. How could he look at the cosmic sea in the Qi Temple? Even if the entire Qishan Temple's cosmic sea is swallowed up, it will not improve much. What's more, he really wants to be cheeky, and I'm sorry for those fallen inheritors. Open things can be delayed. He also knew the original intention of Jinling, because he was afraid that they would not do their best, or run away after seeing the strength of the Temple of Destruction. So I want to tie them to Qishan Temple, because of the example of Zhenliang. He also knew that the original oath had no effect. I'm worried that someone won't do anything. It is also hard work. Jian Wushuang saw what he did, and saw that the true spirit was helpless. He didn't say anything, but only promised the true spirit again. He will do what he promises. In fact, looking at Jinling now, I think the other party is also very good. It's like an old man pulling a bunch of kids. Now that the children have grown up, the old man is afraid that the children will ignore him, and he will be full of flaws. Pitiful. Jinling stared at his small eyes, spun around, flashing light to look at Jian Wushuang and the others, and said reluctantly, "Since you are so insistent, then first establish the position of God Lord, and I will open it up for you from the Sea of Cosmos in the future." Origin. Everything is determined by merit. Yes, take credit for it. Everyone nodded in unison. In this way, those second-generation inheritors no longer have any objections, because they have already accumulated a lot of credit points. Unfortunately, there are not many treasures in Qi Temple, and they dare not exchange them. Even the necessities are exchanged carefully. I was thinking about Qishan Temple in my heart. Then it will be determined by merit. After the real spirit made a decision, he continued, "But you are the most dazzling inheritors of the Qi Temple. You can't be unknown, and the position of God Lord will be held by you first. In the end, someone deserves more credit than you, so don't blame me." Haha, Wuxia couldn't help laughing. "Don't worry, we won't be surpassed." The crowd relaxed. At the same time, 10 vortices appeared in the sky. A stone pillar appeared. Jinling pointed a finger and shouted loudly, "First God Lord." This is the position of the first Lord of Qi Shrine. All stared. In fact, many people have guessed who it is. Jian Wushuang. When he heard his name, he was no longer indecisive, and immediately rose into the air and stood on the stone pillar. This position was given to him, not because of any merit or combat power, but because he almost fulfilled his original promise and brought everyone back. Fan Tianfeng came back and fell by himself, so I won't talk about that. As for Zhenliang, it can only be said that things are impermanent, things that can't be done. The rest of them were brought back intact, and their strengths were astonishing. This is also a credit, if it is about the dazzling degree in the Qishan Temple. In fact, Jian Wushuang is not the first. When he first entered the Qi Temple, among the group of inheritors, Hui Qing was the most dazzling. Later he emerged and another businessman pressed him on it. He's never been number one. Only this time, the promise to the true spirit was completed, so he was given the position of the first god. Second God Lord. Jinling looked at Hui Qing this time without any surprises. The position of the second should also be given to Hui Qing. Among the first batch of inheritors of Qi Temple, the most dazzling existence, also created a lot of myths. Whoa! Hui Qing's figure flashed, and his footsteps landed on the pillar lightly. There is little objection to this allocation, but when it came to the third god, there were a lot of people who showed a look of resentment. Wuxia, Qishan's only surviving named disciple. This position was given to Wuxia. Even Wuxia himself was shocked. If it is really ranked according to real strength, he is indeed the third. But apart from Jian Wushuang and others, no one knew his true combat power. Jinling gave him this position. Chapter 60-80. He glanced at Jinling in surprise, then turned to look at Jian Wushuang again. I thought it meant Jian Wushuang, but Jian Wushuang shook his head. This matter is really not Jian Wushuang revealing their true combat power, but Jinling's own plan. In the beginning, I made you feel wronged. This is a compensation, but don't be careless. The order is only temporary. Jinling laughed lightly and patted Wuxia's shoulder. Wuxia was stunned for a moment, and his eyes turned red. He didn't expect Jinling to care so much about him one day. That doesn't care about strength. It's not because he's strong that he cares about him. Since returning to Qi Temple, He couldn't help but want to express himself in front of Jinling several times, and let Jinling see how powerful he is now. No shame for the master. Just didn't get a chance to show it. The confidence he showed in front of the true spirit was all because of his own strength. But now Jinling gave him the position of the third god lord without looking at his strength. How could he not be excited? And he nodded heavily, took a step and landed his feet heavily on the stone pillar, as if to say that he would definitely keep this position. Jinling also nodded in relief. There are already candidates for the positions of the three major gods. In the follow-up position, the true spirit will be established depending on whose aura is stronger. Fourth god lord no heaven. Wuxian's name is very unfamiliar, but no one is unfamiliar when it comes to Tongtian Buddha. Even in the Qishan temple today, the one who left the most disciples and grandchildren is Tongtian Buddha. The boundless Buddha at the beginning is now the master of the universe in the Four Tribulations realm. He also feels that Wuxian is unfamiliar. The previous Tongtian Buddha, in the eyes of the infinite Buddha, was a downright villain, but he was just a good disguise. Now it seems that it is not disguised, and directly incarnates into a demon. His strength reached a height that he couldn't climb, and his heart was relieved all of a sudden. He is just a little elder of Yuanyang Palace, and the former Tongtian Buddha is now Wuxian, who is already the fourth god. Really can't compare. He also gave blessings from the bottom of his heart, but those disciples and grandchildren of Tongtian Buddha could not accept it. Unable to accept that the Tongtian Buddha fell into the devil's way and became a devil Buddha without heaven in the endless hell. But at this level, those laws and regulations have faded away, but people's hearts haven't changed. After the fourth god lord was established, the fifth god lord was even more unexpected. The Lord of Light and Shadow, the first of the first batch of testers. It is also a glorious arrogance. It's just that few people remember it. Because it was too long ago, the faces of the group of testers were still immature at the beginning, but now they have become super existences, rivaling the ancient times. Because I know very little, I was just surprised. On the contrary, the backbone Luo was a little unconvinced, and even let Guangying rank in front of him, silently vowing in his heart to surpass the other party, and even personally kill Mieshing to grab the first gong, and earn the position of the first god lord. Sixth god lord. Jinling pulled his voice very long, looked at the remaining three people, gave him a sense of expectation, and finally pointed to a frustrated person. Finish. Standing in the corner, Wanyan thought she had heard it wrong. This time he returned. His complexion was the worst among the crowd, and he looked unhappy and didn't have much expectations. I didn't expect myself to be ranked sixth. His combat power, not the backbone of Luo Chang, or even inferior to Dongsheng, was ranked sixth, and the twilight receded for a while. A burst of energy surged in his heart, and he immediately led the order and fell firmly on top of the sixth stone. Dongsheng didn't feel resentful because Wanyan was in front of him, but was very happy for Wanyan. Among those second-generation inheritors, there are several descendants of Wanyan, who are also proud of their ancestors. Only the backbone Luo felt unfair, but he couldn't say it. In the bottom of my heart, I can only secretly write it down. I am determined to be a blockbuster, and I must surpass everyone. At the same time, he is also looking forward to the seventh god. It should be him this time. Unfortunately, Jinling called out a name that he felt unfamiliar. Not him and Dongsheng. Sacred Tomb Mountain, the fifth mountain master, Xanjiao. The name shocked everyone, especially those second-generation inheritors. Xanjiao, the lord of the six tribulations realm universe. Not an ordinary inheritor, so many people were shocked. Even the merchants were surprised. Xanjiao. Jian Wushuang also recited the name silently, thinking of the young man he met when he was chasing and killing Jiang Shang in the secret realm of the human world. A smile leaked from the corner of his mouth. The fifth mountain master of the Tomb God Mountain. This title is actually a Shang seal, because Xianjiao is a businessman. The master of the universe at the peak of the six tribulations realm is not the master of the hall, nor the master of the hall, but a mountain master who does not have much power. Only the master of those peaks opened by the tomb god mountain. But against the temple of destruction, he is a sharp blade, and has a record of beheading the same level. You must know that after reaching the 5 tribulations realm, it is very difficult to kill a powerhouse of the same rank, not to mention that it happens in a small place like downstream time and space. Some dull Xianjiu did not expect that he would become a god, feeling the gazes of countless eyes, and felt a little overwhelmed. Go, child, it belongs to you. Zhenling raised his finger and pointed to the 7th pillar. Only then did Xianjiu slowly fly away, and the moment he fell on the pillar, he couldn't believe it was true. But a look at him made him shudder. Congratulations! Jian Wushuang clasped his fists and smiled at each other. This surprised many people, knowing that after Jian Wushuang reached the 1st pillar, he did not open his mouth or congratulate anyone. But now he is very politely congratulating Xianjiu. Senior. At this moment, Xianjiu saw the figure who brought him to the cultivation path. At first he didn't know it was Jian Wushuang. Later, as his strength continued to grow stronger, he also began to look for Jian Wushuang's whereabouts. He still learned from Zhenling that it was Jian Wushuang who saved him at the beginning. He has always remembered the name, until the return of Jian Wushuang. Now that he heard the praise of which senior, he felt that all the efforts were worth it. He changed the secret realm of the human world, and also changed his own mind. Among the top 10 gods, the first local powerhouse of Qi Temple also appeared. Xianjiu, who came from the secret realm of the human world, won the position of the 7th god. Next, the 8th god lord gave Dongsheng. There was not much fluctuation this time, because the 2nd generation inheritors also understood that the position of the god lord was prepared for Jian Wushuang and the others. But one of them, an ordinary lord of the 3 tribulations realm universe, had a proud look on his face. Magic Sound General, Dongsheng and Wanyan's masters were also their backers. Now his disciple has become in the blink of an eye. This made the demonic sound god general feel that there was light on his face. In a twinkling of an eye, the 2 disciples who were just accepted at random turned out to be divine masters. Chapter 6081. Dongsheng was also not polite, and entered the pillar directly. The backbone Lua was gnashing his teeth below, and said with anger, I was ranked 9th, wait. I will let you know, underestimate my fate. He's going to be a blockbuster. If it weren't for the tomb of the gods, he would want to explode some divine power, and let these people see how powerful he is. Unfortunately, he never expected that the position of the 9th god lord would not be given to him. Instead, it was given to a 2nd generation inheritor. 10 gods. Jian Wushuang and others must occupy 8 positions. There are 2 remaining positions. One is given to the strong Xianjiu from the Qi Temple, the other is naturally selected from the 2nd generation of inheritors. And this candidate was beyond everyone's expectations. It is an extremely young inheritor, and it is very short to become the 6 tribulations realm. Even after he reached the 6 tribulations realm, he never made a move, and few people knew his true strength. Speaking of which, this person is also somewhat related to Jian Wushuang. But it's not a big relationship. If we really want to talk about relationship, it still has some relationship with the mother of the other party. Gong Miaoyi. When the opponent appeared, Jian Wushuang felt an invisible force of cause and effect. At the beginning, because of him, it broke Gong Miaoyi's heart. She didn't expect her son to be so old now. However, after he entered the Qishan temple, he did not notice Gong Miaoyi's breath. There was no portrait of Gong Miaoyi on the mountain, but what he can be sure of is that Gong Miaoyi has fallen. The son left behind is named Gong Ming. He is also the most talented cosmos master in the Qishan temple in the past 100,000 eras. Because he was born in the 100,000th era, he has already become the master of the 6 tribulations realm universe. However, after he became the lord of the 6 tribulations realm universe, he was still in the tomb sacred mountain. It belongs to the powerhouse directly under the true spirit. Of course, this also has something to do with his life experience. Jian Wushuang saw the story from the other side. and am afraid there is another bleak ending behind it. In any case, the ninth God Lord, from the second generation of inheritors, even if he does not belong to any faction, it cannot change the fact. The backbone Luo was going crazy, and he was actually placed behind a young boy. Xianjiu will not say it, although he is the master of the universe of the six tribulations realm. But he has also killed the same rank. Now to good. The seventh is Xianjiu, the eighth is Dongsheng, and the ninth is Gongming, a master of the universe who has cultivated in the 100,000 era. It didn't take long for him to break through the six tribulations realm, and he was even in front of him. Not convinced. He was really unconvinced. But you can't argue with your younger generation about the quickness of your tongue. You can only talk about it later. The position of the 10th God Lord is no longer in suspense. Naturally, it is the backbone of Luo. No one cared what the real spirit said. Junling was much simpler this time, and said directly, "Backbone Luo, this last pillar is yours. I let you play at the end, you won't blame me." He didn't forget to kill people. Backbone Luo could only let out a smile and said indifferently, "How come? I am an inactive person. I am ashamed of the name of the Lord of God. How can I still care about the order?" "Haha, that's good." Junling laughed loudly, ignoring the other party, who would lick their face to protest this kind of thing. Gu Luo can only be dumb to eat coptis. In fact, I still want to compare. If it was Jian Wushuang, he would definitely not care about this. The throne of God is established. The next thing is to plan the expedition. Everyone is back, and the war is about to begin. Shang, who had been standing beside him, saw the sign of the true spirit, and stood up and announced. 3 days later, the main hall masters and hall masters, as well as the 10 major gods who have just established, come here to discuss the expedition, and the rest everyone prepares individually, and soon they will attack the Temple of Destruction. As soon as these words came out, countless people had high fighting spirit. Over the years, they have suffered for too long. They have long wanted to go out and fight against the Temple of Destruction, but without the order of the true spirit, they can't go out, and they can only wait. Now the days are over. After the announcement was made, the crowd began to disperse. But Jian Wushuang and the others didn't know where to go. They all stayed where they were. At this time, Xianjiu also took the initiative to step forward and respectfully said, "Thank you for your guidance many years ago. Xianjiu will never forget it. You don't have to thank me. You have today's achievements because of your hard work." Jian Wushuang didn't expect the other party's achievements to be so high. At first, he just thought that Xianjiu had a superb appearance, but he didn't expect that the other party would come back this time, become the lord of the six tribulations realm universe, and also be headed the same level. If it wasn't for him coming back to cross the seventh calamity, he would have almost been on the same level as the opponent. This indeed exceeded his expectations, and the other party worked harder. Only half today's strength. It also reminded him of the scene of traveling through the future on the Mahayana Lingshan mountain. In the future, when he failed to join the path, it was Xianjiu who protected and redeemed him. In fact, the love between the two has already been cleared up. Akanshu. Calm, he chatted with the other party for a long time with an equal attitude. And then he left angrily after being called away by Shang. 3 days later, the discussion about the Temple of Destruction also made the 4 secret realms lively, and everyone was gearing up. But treasures are scarce. At this time, the treasure brought by Wuxia came in great use. Jian Wushuang also took advantage of this time, condensed a lot of life force, and took out all his treasures. Almost everything that is useless to oneself is given to true spirit. The treasure trove of Qi Temple instantly swelled up. In the past, there were only tens of thousands of treasures, but now there are thousands of them. The treasures collected by Qishan Temple are actually not many. Even if there is a so-called time and space treasure, it is also stained with the light of extinction, and it was obtained from the gods at the beginning. There are quite a few ordinary treasures. After all, Qishan's strength was not weak at the beginning, and he collected 70-88 treasures from the entire Morwa time and space, so that Qishan Temple could cultivate so many masters of the universe. Of course, it also has a relationship with the downstream spacetime. But there will be a day when the treasure will finally have its light. After all these years, if it weren't for Zenling's diligent and thrifty housekeeping, they would all beg for food. Fortunately, Wuxia had foresight and got a batch of treasures early. Now comes in handy. This made Jinling very happy, and said with relief, "My vision was really right back then, and I accepted a disciple like you." Wuxia is also very happy, he just eats this one. Jian Wushuang took the opportunity to find the palace inscription, who was named the ninth god. After all, it is also a descendant of an old man, and he still has to take care of one or two. Anyway, these few days, he has nothing to do, and the people who were going to visit have almost fallen. Senior, Gongming noticed that Jian Wushuang had come to him, and hurriedly bowed and saluted, with a well-behaved personality and no arrogance. Chapter 6082. This made Jian Wushuang very surprised. In his impression, Gong Miaoi was the master who never bowed his head, but he did not expect his son to have such a personality. I really don't know who the other's father is, and how good his character is to give birth to such a son. Jian Wushuang looked at each other and smiled lightly. No need to be nervous. I'm an old friend with your mother. I didn't expect her to be too. He couldn't help sighing. Mother. Gong Ming took a deep breath, thinking of what his mother explained back then, and he didn't know whether to say it, but he could feel that Jian Wushuang had no ill intentions towards him. It's just that what his mother said before his death was really different from what he saw, because before his mother fell, he once explained that he could ask Jian Wushuang for help in the future, but it depends on Jian Wushuang's character at that time. If Jian Wushuang's character is tyrannical, he can hide as far as he can. Be careful if you have a bland personality. At least 3,000 to 5,000 epochs must be observed before opening. But just after meeting, Gong Ming felt that Jian Wushuang was not like what his mother said, a cunning villain, a big devil. On the contrary, I feel that Jian Wushuang treats people very kindly. He didn't know how miserable Jian Wushuang had done to Gong Miaoi, and he wouldn't think so if he knew it. Jian Wushuang was also so amiable when he saw Gong Ming because he owed Gong Miaoi back then, for a while to ask for warmth, and for a while to send treasures. This made Gong Ming doubt his mother's character. Jian Wushuang is simply a great man. Where is it like a cunning villain? Nephew, you can rely on this token to find me when you encounter difficulties in the future. I dare not say that your uncle Wushuang is still covered. Jian Wushuang did not exaggerate. The most dreaded thing is to destroy life, and when it is done, he will basically be invincible. Covering a person is not easy, and also to hold the other party as the new star of Qi Temple in the future. A great blueprint has long appeared in his heart, but there is a threat of death, and he can't use it. When the death is finished, it will be time for the expansion of the Qi Temple. Gong Ming was very moved when he received the token, nodded solemnly and said gratefully, "Definitely." After caring about the younger generation, Jian Wushuang began to prepare for business. This time, when he returned to Qi Temple, he still had one more thing to do. It's about beast soldiers. Cough cough. He came to Jinling, glanced at Wuxia, who was still talking about himself and boasted, and coughed twice, indicating that the other party was almost done. He had his credit for getting these treasures in the first place, and he couldn't be alone. All occupied. At this time, Wuxia was on the rise. Regardless of Jian Wushuang's reminder, he was still bragging about how wide his network was in the upstream time and space, and the true spirit's eyes were stunned by gold stars. Before the destruction of life was solved, he began to fantasize about breaking into the upstream time and space, and dominating the entire northern time and space. Jian Wushuang coughed for a while beside him, before he pulled the true spirit back to reality. That Xiao Wuxia, you go talk to Shang Xian, we are not in a hurry. Zhenling also felt that he was thinking too much, so he wanted to leave Wuxia. But Wu Zuozheng was talking vigorously, without looking at him at all. If it weren't for the treasure's sake, Zhenling would want to slap Wuxia on the head. Too blind to see. Don't worry, don't worry. Jian Wushuang smiled awkwardly on the side. It's rare that Brother Wuxia is so interested. Forget it, I'll talk about it next time. I know you have something to talk about. Wuxia saw Jian Wushuang behind him. He quickly vacated his seat, waved his hand, and went to Shang's side. At this time, Huiqing and others were also reminiscing about the past with Shang, chatting about the past few years. Of course, the big things have been finished by the true spirit, and now they are talking about some small things, as well as their own affairs in the upper space and time, and share them with everyone. It also let the strong people at the time know how big and wonderful the outside world is. Actually, that's nothing. The entire upstream time and space for them, and not much challenge. Of course, it only includes Huiqing and him. If there is one more, Count Wuxia, who made his background sky-high. Wushuang, do you have something to do with me? Zhenling looked at Jian Wushuang with a heavy face, thought there was something big, and suddenly became serious. Jian Wushuang smiled lightly. It's not a big deal, I'm ashamed to say. I want Lord Zhenling to help me collect the remaining beast soldiers. Beast God Soldier, Zhenling said with a small smile when he heard about it. It seems that you have also discovered the speciality of the Beast Divine Soldier. Seeing Zhenling's expression, Jian Wushuang said in surprise, You know? He did not expect that the true spirit also knew the special characteristics of the 9 beasts. In this way, you can drop by to find out how this beast magic weapon is refined. There must be some reason why Qishan, the Lord of the 7 Tribulations Realm universe, can refine such a powerful treasure. Originally he was curious, but now that he knows about the true spirit, he is even more curious. Haha, I made this book, how could I not know it? Zhenling blew his beard and stared, began to preach about the refining of beast magic weapons. In fact, he only has the memory of refining the beast magic weapon back then. At that time in Mora time and space, there were 9 beast gods. Each of these beast gods was at the level of the 7 Tribulations realm. All of them were beheaded by Qishan, and finally refined into 9 great beast soldiers. Since the adults also know, then I will not spare the circle. Simply put, I want to gather the 9 great beasts. Jian Wushuang was not polite, and directly stated his purpose. Gathering together the 9 great beast divine weapons, plus the origin of the year beasts he obtained, refine the 9 great beast divine weapons into one. Although his divine power increase now relies entirely on super eternity change, this can no longer satisfy him. In other words, apart from the super eternity change, he has no other ability to improve. The improvement of the basic divine power has reached completion. Only when you reach the 8 Tribulations realm can you be promoted again. And there is also a limit to the improvement, which depends on the situation of his tribulation. He also has to plan ahead and prepare for the future. Zhenling was stunned when he heard that he was going to collect the 9 great beasts and exclaimed, What do you want these things? Although I was super capable at the beginning, these 9 beasts are the innate treasures of the universe, but the limit for improvement is very low. Even if you have gathered the 9 great beasts, at most it is the treasure of the peak of the 8 tribulations. And I think you are not lacking such treasures. Jian Wushuang just took out several treasures of the 8 tribulations realm at once. How could he take a fancy to these beast soldiers? Which made him very surprised. Jian Wushuang didn't hide it, and explained his understanding of the beast soldiers. Don't worry about this matter. You can find it slowly after solving the death. After Zhenling heard it, there was a hint of shock. He himself did not expect that the upper limit of the beast soldiers would be so high. Chapter 6083. Or in other words, there is such a high upper limit in Jianwu's hands. If you give it to a waste, it may not work. It seems that Wuxia has already told you that there are still 3 divine beast weapons in the Qishan temple. I don't know where to go for the rest. It is very likely that they were left behind. Zhenling's tone was a little embarrassing. He didn't care about these treasures, but rather these treasures now have owners, and only one is still in hand. Jian Wushuang also saw it and said bluntly, I can do everything I can to exchange it, and I can satisfy all the opportunities below the 9 tribulations realm. Haha, what you're talking about is a bit outlandish, but now the battle is imminent. Zhenling simply did not hide it and said, I originally had 3 beast soldiers, but I have 2 of them. It was given to Shang and Luo. Jiangliang Spear, Phoenix Feather Spear. Hearing that in the hands of Shang and Luo, Jian Wushuang was too embarrassed to speak. The husband and wife have been sitting in the Qi temple for hundreds of millions of years. They have just returned, and they have occupied the position of the gods. It would be more difficult to say. Fortunately, it is not the life and the treasure, there is still hope. When the extinction of life is resolved, he will discuss it in person. Zhenling's words were unreliable, and he was afraid that after seeing his true combat power, Zhenling would chill Shang and Luo's heart again. The other party is a hero, and cannot make people feel cold. Don't worry, it won't be too late to talk after I have collected the other 7 pieces. Besides, the entire northern dimension can help me gather the 9 great beasts, and they don't exist yet. Even if I collect them now, it's useless. He eased click to show no rush. Zhenling was afraid that Jian Wushuang would be in a hurry, and quickly added, "You take this one in my hand first." As he spoke, he took out the 8th beast divine weapon, a dark red helmet. Beast soldier, Suzuka crown. The treasure of psychic power can improve your psychic power. Jian Wushuang held it in his hand, and he didn't feel that there was much special, but simply improved his psychic power. But for ordinary powerhouses, it was a super treasure, and it was too important to increase his psychic power. But to him, it is not as magical as the candle dragon. After carefully accepting it, he politely said, "Thank you." "You're welcome." Zhenling waved his hand and changed the subject. "See what you mean, it's almost collected now." Jian Wushuang nodded with a smile. "Well, this is the 6th piece I got. From the very beginning of the beast divine soldier Zhulong, to the Tai Mian Qilin, Qinglong, Shilkong and the current Suzaku, which were obtained in the middle reaches of time and space, 6 pieces have been collected. Count Zhongliang and Fengyu. There is only one thing left." After hearing a few pieces, Zhenling couldn't help but ask curiously, "Is this all obtained in the middle reaches of time and space?" "Right, then. The middle reaches of time and space?" Zhenling hesitated, and the sword hanging over his head had not disappeared, so he was concerned about the past, which was a little out of place. Jian Wushuang said with a faint smile, "I was in the middle reaches of the time and space, and I saw the original Mora time and space. It's a pity." Yes, Wuxia brought back the ruins of the Mora time and space if you." "Haha," Zhenling said freely. "Forget it, it's all those old-fashioned things." That said, but judging from the other party's expression, he still has feelings for everything in the past. Even if it only inherits some memories, it is still impossible to forget the past glory. Qi Shrine will be great again. Not far. Right in front of you. After chatting with Zhenling for a while, he left the Tomb God Mountain alone. There are still a few days left, and he wants to see the 4 secret realms. He has already entered the realm of time and space, and he does not need to take the teleportation array at all, and he can travel through the entire 4 secret realms at will. Holy Grave. Tomb God Mountain. 99th floor. He could have done it already. At this time, he realized that he still has a second soul here. At first, I thought that after leaving a few epochs, at most tens of thousands of epochs, I would return. Unexpectedly, one departure is millions of epochs. So much so that his second primordial spirit, separated from the deity for a long time, has now been destroyed. Back to his cave again. Only one body remained. The origin of the mind has long since lost its color. Hair turned black. I remember when I left, my hair was still white. Looking at his second primordial spirit, he sighed and wanted to reach out to touch it. But before he could reach out, his flesh turned into powder. He couldn't believe it. The second primordial spirit at the beginning, although the physical body was not as good as the deity, was also immortal. It will turn into powder. And even the power of thought can't reshape these powders. Strangeness. Jian Wushuang frowned. His mind power directly probed into the origin of the downstream spacetime, trying to find the second soul who lost his origin, but found that he couldn't find it at all. As long as it is a practitioner who has fallen in the downstream time and space, the origin will return to the origin of the downstream time and space. He did not find his own in the origin of time and space. That is to say, the source of his second primordial spirit may not have fallen at all. But obviously no one has been out here. At first, the true spirit could not get in. Forget it, we'll have the opportunity to ask the Realm King in the future. Northern time and space is the realm of the Realm King. Maybe the other party knows. After staying alone in the cave for a while, there was nothing to remember here. So I packed up the relics left by the second primordial spirit and left the Tomb God Mountain. Then he went directly to the top of the secret realm of the Tomb of the Gods, the secret realm of the human world. This is Xianjiu's hometown. Back then, he had chased and killed Jiang Shang here. And it was also the place where he first encountered destruction. I remember that at that time he just came out of the first prison and came to the secret realm of the human world. At that time, the secret realm of the human world had been solidified. Like an old stubborn, no fresh blood was born. It was he who gave Xianjiu hope to change all this. Today's secret realm of the human world is not weak in any place. There are a lot of strong people. Of course, many of them moved in from behind. Because of the discussion about the expedition in 3 days, the powerhouses in the entire Qishan temple are now mobilizing. In fact, it is they who really decide the winner. But these people are also useful. That is the battle of origin. Compete for the origin of the downstream spacetime. These cannot be resisted by one person. The current extinction almost controls the entire downstream time and space, and fighting in the downstream is very unfavorable for them. If you want to break all this, you need those emperors and robbery powerhouses to fight. The foundation of the 4 secret realms is still very solid. There are so many emperors that they are already comparable to a time and space. It was right that Jinling decided to open Qishan Temple and release all the inheritors, opened a sect, and trained a large number of strong men. This is much stronger than staying in the Qishan Temple all the time. If the Temple of Destruction of the World is not growing too fast, the Qishan Temple will be stronger. He only stayed in the human world for a while, and then he left leisurely. Boundary, the former West Coast. Chapter 60-84. Morocco is still there. Daxia is gone. He stayed in the land for a long time, and he also left a lot of memories at the beginning. He once pretended to be the Prince of Daxia, and also drifted away from King Bai. He also encountered the opportunity of the 3 Kings' court. It's just that things are different, and there are no acquaintances. After the White King was reshaped, he also fell. There was also the original Morwa Great Elder, who was a foreigner from Morwa Kingdom, but left his life in Morwa Kingdom. Ugh! Jian Wushuang sighed softly, turned and left the boundary. He did not go directly to heaven, but to Primal Star. The Vermilion Bird Palace is still here. In the dark red hall, silhouettes hurried. Today's Vermilion Bird Hall Master is a remarkable figure. Although he is not as powerful as Xianjiu, he has unique means. Among the 4 halls, the Vermilion Bird Hall was originally a hall behind Engu. The power is comparable to that of the White Tiger Palace, and it is also very good in external battles. This is all because of the current temple master, Ji Wushuang, the little girl from JIS family. He also had to meet each other for the first time. Ji Chaoyang's little niece is now the master of the Peak Universe in the 6 Tribulations realm. In the past, he was young and frivolous, but now he is domineering in a stable manner. Jian Wushuang passed through the hall and just glanced at each other. In the Tomb God Mountain, they separated before reminiscing with each other. Now that he has returned to the Vermilion Bird Hall, he is already arranging the expedition. Really matured a lot. If it was before, he would definitely come forward and have a chat with his elder. Perhaps because of the great responsibility, he has let go of his original character. Through the main hall, he did not disturb the other party, but just stopped a deacon of the Vermilion Bird Hall. Give this mustard seed to your hall master. The deacon of the Vermilion Bird Palace, who was frightened, was an extremely strong man. He just felt a little fuzzy in his mind, as if he had received an irresistible task. So he held the mustard seeds blankly. Go to Suzaka Palace. After handing the mustard to Ji Wushuang, he woke up. Who gave you this mustard seed? Ji Wushuang just checked the contents of the mustard seed, and his pupils dilated, and some couldn't believe it was true. The deacon of the Vermilion Bird Hall, who had regained consciousness, was stunned when he saw that he was in the hall, and the hall master was still asking questions. But he still told the strange things he encountered in an orderly manner. Ji Wushuang understood at once. The originally calm eyes also revealed a trace of once clear eyes, and said in a low voice, "I see, you should step back first." Yes. The deacon of the Vermilion Bird Palace couldn't believe it. The voice just now came from the mouth of the hall master, and he was stunned for a while before slowly retreating. At the same time, he was also curious in the bottom of his heart. What caused the palace master to reveal his gentle side? He thought that the palace master had always been cold-faced. The figures in the hall were busy, but Ji Wushuang, the master of the hall, was stunned for a while, then turned to look outside the hall, but did not see the familiar figure. In the end, he just sighed, accepted the mustard seeds, and continued to work. At this time, Jian Wushuang had already left the front hall of Suzuka Hall. Suzuka Hall, and the apps. There are no practitioners here, they are all puppets. It is the predecessor of Suzuka Hall. Zhu Yi is also here. It's just that he came here, not for Zhu Yi, but for Zhu Qi. This Shanjun's old friend is good. At the beginning, Shan Jun was kind to him, and he should have come to see it. When he came back, he hadn't seen her yet. After all, it is just a puppet of the emperor, and it is useless to the Qi temple now. They stayed in the Vermilion Bird Palace, and now they are just busy with some chores. Even Zhu Yi is like this. Jian Wushuang quietly entered a side hall, and Zhu Qi was in it. Some files are being sorted at this time. He was so busy that he didn't realize that Jian Wushuang was already in front of him. It was because Jian Wushuang blocked the light of the candlelight that she hurriedly looked up. "It's you!" Zhu Qi exclaimed. "Jian Wushuang." She couldn't believe it. At the beginning, Jian Wushuang disappeared with many people. He learned that he had gone to the outside world, and there was no news since then. He didn't expect to appear in front of her today, and it was hard to believe for a while. "Long time no see." Jian Wushuang let out a smile. Zhu Qi quickly got up to pour water. The two sat opposite each other, and chatted for a long time. Of course, the person talking is still Shan Jun. It was also from the other party's mouth that Jian Wushuang knew Shan Jun again. Don't watch him visit these characters one by one. They have nothing to do with the overall situation. In fact, he was understanding the struggle. Get to know Shan Jun. It is equivalent to understanding Kishin's devouring avenue. From Zhu Qi's mouth and his own understanding, he couldn't believe that Shan Jun was an obstacle to Qishin. In other words, swallowing the avenue is not a crooked way. Not so bad either. Perhaps it was only Qishin who was wrong. After chatting for a long time, he left. It's a pity that Zhu Qi is just a puppet, and he can't help for the time being. In the future, you can help the other party change to a stronger body, or a stronger source, so that she can live like a person. The 4 major halls he visited in turn. I went to the White Tiger Palace, but I was not very familiar with Bai Yi, just briefly greeted. Qinglong Hall is the same. Only when he arrived at the Xuanwu Hall, he stayed for a long time. I chatted with Xian Yi from the Xuanwu Hall for a long time. In the beginning, did he really say that? It's absolutely true. That senior actually just passed by the Qishin temple. He went to the depths of the primordial universe, and said that he was looking for someone. He used my name and gave me a chance. Xian Yi said here, suddenly thought of something. He took out a small box and said, "Which senior asked me to hand it over to you, saying that when you take the initiative to come to see me, let me give it to you." "Thank you." Jian Wushuang got up and took it respectfully. With both hands attached to the wooden box, his eyes changed. In Xian Yi's surprise, he left the Xuanwu Hall, the depths of the universe that the teacher said is his hometown. But unfortunately, everything is gone now. After going through these things, Jian Wushuang has long thought about it, and he has been guessing what teacher Xuanyi is going to do. In the past, he thought that his mysterious master might be the reincarnation of a powerful person who needed his help. Later, when they met again in the court of 3 kings, he thought that the teacher wanted to entrust him with something. Now give him this wooden box again. He held it in his hand and did not open it for a long time. When you take the initiative to meet the Xuanwu Palace Master, give this thing to him. When he was in Daojun, he was able to see Xuanwu Hall Master. The things left behind are probably not treasures. Click. After hesitating for a long time, he carefully opened the box. The wooden box was opened, and a token lay quietly inside. Above it is written the starry sky text. God King. The two ancient words. The moment he looked at them, a powerful pressure overwhelmed his breath. Chapter 6085. Just one glance made his source starry sky tremble. The existence of refining this token is probably much stronger than him. At least the universe god, or a certain star in the starry sky, even Zama's, a candidate for KO god, did not give him such a big impact. If he looked directly at this token when he was Daojun, wouldn't he have been directly shocked to death? No. Jian Wuxuang smiled bitterly. It seems that the teacher has already arrived today. He had no reason not to doubt this question. After all, after reaching this level, he still can't see through the teacher's realm and identity. How can he be as naive as he imagined? Thinking of this, he simply used his mind power to probe this token. Psychic has just entered the token. A simple line of words appeared in his mind. If you encounter difficulties, you can crush the token, and someone will help you solve everything. Solve everything? Jian Wuxuang murmured in a low voice, his eyes rosy. The only one who can say this to him is his master. Like a towering tree. Cover everything for him. Be careful with the token income source. It is also a rare trump card. But to crush the token, there is only one chance. He will not use it lightly. In other words, when he accepted it, he did not intend to use it. Now he doesn't need shelter from the wind and rain. He has to carry everything by himself. Even fighting to the last breath. Thinking of this, his eyes were firm, his figure flashed again, and he had reached the heaven. For secret realms, only the light of heaven can make him comfortable. Especially in Yuanyang Lake in heaven. Finding a secluded grassland, he sat cross-legged alone. Took out a pot of wine and drank it, very comfortable. Today's Qishan temple is overcrowded. There are few such secluded places. In 3 days, he only spent 1 day visiting acquaintances. For the remaining 2 days, I just sat there in a daze. Don't even practice. These were the 2 slowest days for him, and he felt the passage of time on him. In the past, cultivation was counted in 10,000 years. Now that I'm still, I realize how precious time is. The disadvantage of submerged cultivation is that people are stuck at a bottleneck because they cannot feel the passage of time. This is what he realized in the past 2 days. Suddenly stopping like this, feeling the mystery of time, is more useful than his practice of 100,000 years. Time is not about how much you have, but how you use it. Call. He stood up slightly and closed his eyes slightly. When he opened his eyes again, he had already reached the tomb of God. In the dojo of Qishan, 10 gods. For lords, the master of the 6 halls of Yuanyang Palace, as well as Shang and Luo all arrived. In the center of the dojo, there is a long table. The 10 gods sit opposite the 4 halls and 6 halls. Shang and Luo sat in front of the long table, one left and one right. In the middle there is still a vacancy, which is reserved for the true spirit. Now that they are all here, there is only one person left. I don't know where this little old man went. After waiting for a while, the real spirit came in a hurry. When everyone is ready, let's start straight away. Jinling sat down with a butt, and he was not pretending at this time. The seats were all arranged by him. Now it has been explained that he is the boss. Shang got up at this time, took out a jade slip, and put it on the long table. And the map of the downstream spacetime appeared directly on the table. Everyone please see, this is the map of the long river of time and space. The red marks are the positions where the powerhouses of the Temple of Destruction are stationed. If we go to the Temple of Destruction, we must remove these positions one by one. When discussing the details, Jian Wuxuang and the others listened in a foggy way. They really didn't understand this, but also a necessary scramble. Otherwise, There will be very few sources that they can mobilize when they wait for the big battle. Just the first step. It took a long time to negotiate before finalizing it. The vanguard of the expedition was to remove several demon domains in the original universe. The powerhouses stationed in the Temple of Destruction of the primitive universe have 3 lords of the 7 Tribulations realm universe. This task was handed over to the 4th god, Wuxia. The 3 lords of the 7 Tribulations realm universe, the most powerful ones are less than 3 million, and Wuxia can easily solve it by himself. The rest is pretty much the same as the beginning. It was Jian Wushuang and others who went to behead, and the rest was handed over to the powerhouses of the 4th Hall and Yuanyang Palace to settle the funeral. The respective tasks were quickly assigned to each other. The red marks on the desktop were removed one by one, leaving the Temple of Destruction headquarters. At this time, Jinling also slowly said, "Once you all start, I will move the Qishan Temple to the side of the Temple of Destruction. After waiting for your news, after eradicating all the powerhouses of the Temple of Destruction, I will besiege the Temple of Destruction together." Threat number 1: destroy life. Everyone here knows this. It's just that very few people know about the combat power of destruction, except Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang, let's talk about it. Zhenling knew that Miesheng came for Jian Wushuang, so let Jian Wushuang explain the strength of Miesheng. Originally, Jian Wushuang was not going to tell the truth, so as not to shake the hearts of the army. But after thinking about it, if you don't say it, when the extinction comes, Yu reads www. A few stunned youths rushing over to aren't they courting death? However, it is not possible to bluntly say the identity of Di Shengsheng. It is too troublesome to explain, and few of the people who say it can understand it. He simply said succinctly, "I just want everyone to remember one thing. Except for me and Hui Qing, everyone should stay away from the destruction of life. This is not your opponent. Your opponent is the powerhouse in the Temple of Destruction." This is a bit simple, but also a bit arrogant. Brother Wushuang, you are exaggerating a little bit. How can he be strong for a small death? There is no need for this. Wuzhua felt a little dissatisfied on the side. He had just been named the 3rd God Lord. Why can't he show his hand except Hui Qing? Jian Wushuang said very firmly, "I will sit in the middle of the field. If I lose, it will not be too late for you to go up." This, Wuzhua was a little embarrassed. If Jian Wushuang is not an opponent, wouldn't it be death to let them go? Simply don't say much. Luo hesitated but did not speak. A decisive battle is a big deal. Changes are fast, not negotiated. Jinling saw that Jian Wushuang was almost done, knocked on the handle of the seat, and said, "That's the decision. If destiny appears, the first and master Jian Wushuang will take the shot. If he loses, add the 2nd God Lord Hui Qing." After talking about death, there are 2 more threats to the Temple of Destruction. That is Jiang Shang and Broly. Both of them came from the Qi Temple, but they were the biggest threat. "I'm coming." Hui Qing took the initiative to get up and take orders. Jiang Shang is his disciple, and he will do this. Jian Wushuang hesitated and wanted to get up and say something, but after seeing Hui Qing, he took a deep breath and said, "I agree." Chapter 6086. At this time, he can only say this. There were only a few people who knew about Jiang Shang's affairs. If you let others solve Jiang Shang, it may also mess up Hui Qing's heart. So it's better to let Hui Qing solve it by himself. Seeing that the rest of the people have no opinion, this matter can be considered settled. However, Broly fell on Wuzhua. This time, no one dared to shake the Wuzhua's enthusiasm. After talking about the first 3, the threat on the face of the Temple of Destruction, only the Demon Lord and the Mountain Lord are left. Gu Jun is still in the Qi Temple, steady suppressed by the True Spirit. These 2 devouring demon sovereigns transformed by the way of devouring were handed over to Shang Helenuo. The 4th will supervise the battle, and if you lose, you can help. The rest are dealing with emergencies. After all, no one dares to say that there is no other powerhouse in the Temple of Destruction. I announce with Qi Shen Dharma that I will set off tomorrow at noon, and immediately mobilize the army to prepare for departure. Zhenling stood up and solemnly announced. Everyone also got up and looked serious. Dismiss. Shang and Luo took the powerhouses of the fourth hall and Yuanyang Palace to leave directly, preparing to go out. All the 10 major gods stayed. They had no soldiers under them. The same goes for Exanjiu and Gongming. You wait here for a while. Someone will take you out at noon tomorrow to eradicate the stronghold of the Temple of Destruction. Zhenling explained and left the dojo. Jian Wushuang and the others closed their eyes and rested their minds. War is imminent. Are waiting for that moment. At the same time, the powerhouses in the 4 secret realms have been divided into 12 teams. Shang and Luo each lead a team. The remaining 10 teams are led by the 4 main hall masters and the 6 main hall masters of Yuanyang Palace. It's noon. Set off. Qishan Dojo. The true spirit appeared. Those powerhouses who lead the army just came to the body of law. From now on, all of your deities will leave the Qishan temple, leaving only the Dharma body to report the information ahead. Zhenling said concisely, glanced at everyone, and shouted sharply, "Let's go!" Yes. Everyone got up, and a transparent Dharma body was left on the seats. These Dharmakayas are very fragile, because they say that all the divine power is left on the deity. The last stand. It's all willpower. So that Jian Wushuang and others, the legal body left behind is also very weak. Just to take out this momentum. Whoa! Jian Wushuang tore a space crack and left the Qi temple. Appearing again, it has arrived in the great wilderness. Outside 12 teams have gathered. The first battle, the vanguard of the sky. They all came out to supervise the battle. At this time, Wutian has taken the 4th team, that is, the powerhouse of Vermilion Bird Hall, to the Great Dream Realm in the original universe. Originally, this place was the site of the ancestors of the Great Dream, a medium-sized realm. Now it is the base camp where the Temple of Destruction is stationed in the original universe. There are 3 lords of the universe of the 7 tribulations, and dozens of the lords of the universe of the 6 tribulations. On the other hand, in the Vermilion Bird Palace, there are only 3 6 tribulations realm universe lords. Except for Ji Wushuang, the other 2 are just ordinary 6 tribulation realm universe lords. Although a lot of treasures have been exchanged in the past few days, their strength has not improved much. The divine power is only about 800,000, far inferior to those masters of the universe in the upstream space-time. This is also normal. However, Ji Wushuang's divine power broke 1 million. In the upstream time and space, that is also the super powerhouse in the 6 tribulations realm. Wutian took the lead, without any nonsense. Without waiting for Ji Wushuang to bring the army to come, one person incarnates into the endless and directly wraps the entire big dream world in it. But he didn't need alone. It just reduced everyone's combat power by 90%. As for the 3 lords of the 7 tribulations realm universe, they were not so lucky. Sneak attack. It's the powerhouse of Qi Temple. The powerhouses of the Temple of Destruction in the Great Dream World instantly panicked. This is not to blame for their waste, but the method of Wutian is beyond their imagination. In an instant, they lost 90% of their combat power. So that Ji Wushuang led the team, like chopping melons and vegetables, one-sided suppression and beheading. And Wutian has reached the core of the Great Dream Realm. As soon as the 3 lords of the 7 tribulations realm universe appeared, their pupils began to dilate. This, Master Destruction. The matter here has not been reported yet. The 3 masters of the universe were killed instantly. The 3 round heads were already suspended by Wushan's hand. His complexion did not change in any way, and his body flashed. And he came to the void of the Great Dream Realm. He did not leave directly, but waited until the battle below was completely over before taking people back to the temporary stronghold in the Great Wilderness. Whoa! Wutian appeared and threw the 3 heads directly on the ground. He didn't speak. There was silence on the field. They were all shocked by the fierce fighting power of Wutian. It's too strong. I didn't even react, so it's over? The powerhouses of the 4 great halls in Yuanyang Palace were all speechless. and the pot exploded in an instant. At the same time, there is endless confidence. This is the strongest stronghold outside the Temple of Destruction. It is easy to solve it only if the fourth God Lord makes a move. Then they can lie flat and prepare for the decisive battle. Moreover, in the decisive battle, there are still the first and second gods, and there is a high probability that they will not be used. At the moment when everyone leaked the meaning of relaxation, the great dream world, which had been shattered, began to vibrate. Jian Wushuang frowned, feeling the dead aura, and took a step directly to the void of the great dream realm. After getting closer, it was discovered that death energy emerged from those broken bodies. With so many powerhouses down, the original universe could not have been able to support it, because it has absorbed too many sources of falling. It takes time to digest. But the death energy that appeared here is not that simple. When I first saw it, I thought it was dying. One can imagine how terrifying the breath of death here is. It's a sacrifice ceremony, someone exclaimed, and then loudly reminded, be careful of those dead auras, which will erode the source. Everyone in the vast wilderness looked at Jian Wushuang. Wuxian felt that it was his own business, so he followed. But after feeling the dead aura, he kept retreating. Wuxian stepped back. Jian Wushuang turned his head and said, leave this place to me. After he finished speaking, he condensed countless life force and sprinkled down below, completely suppressed the power of death. The big dream world is not shaking. The power of death originally wanted to manipulate those fallen monks, but was purified by life. The whole big dream world is full of vitality again, back to normal. After this incident, Jian Wushuang had to think about it, to use some life force, but to avoid future troubles. Otherwise, attacking those strongholds is equivalent to enhancing the strength of the opponent. But after his life force had just washed away his death energy, those origins that returned to the original universe also disappeared. The fallen primordial monks are actually practitioners of the downstream time and space. Chapter 6087. It's just about taking refuge in annihilation. Maybe in the eyes of these people, they are chaotic ministers and thieves. But the origin after their fall had just entered the origin of the original universe. And before it was absorbed by the original universe, they were pulled by the force of death, and wanted to recover. Now after being washed by the power of life, Jian Wushuang thought that these origins would return to the original universe, or return to the entire time and space. But he can't feel those origins now. Could it be? He thought of the Temple of Destruction, and his expression moved. These sources will not return to the Temple of Destruction. If this is the case, it is equivalent to increasing the strength of the opponent. But according to what the true spirit said, not killing these people will make the extinction stronger. They seem to be stuck in a closed loop. No matter what, the Temple of Destruction is making money. The stronghold of the great dream world was completely eradicated. There was no movement in the Temple of Destruction. Mieshing stood above the temple, watching quietly through time and space. A burly man behind him said in a dull voice, let me do it. No. Mieshing shook his head, pointed in the direction of Qi Temple and said, they must do it. Neither you nor Jiangshang can do anything. Primitive universe here. Jian Wushuang didn't tell the truth, because he couldn't solve it either. Not to mention the rest. There can only be some life force in that place, and explain it to the gods, so that after they eradicate the stronghold, they can use it to resist the force of death. The first battle was a success. Although there were some minor changes, it did not affect any fighting spirit. Then came the second battle. Wuxia cooperated with the strong men of Qinglong Hall to go to the next cosmos to clear the stronghold. The rest of the team was not idle either. The 8 of them cooperated with each team and began to clean up the temples of destruction in the major universes. Jian Wushuang also let go after knowing the intention of destroying life. Knowing that destruction would not intervene, he informed True Spirit to speed up. In 10,000 years, all the strongholds in the entire downstream spacetime will be uprooted, although there is no order to destroy life. But the strong people in those strongholds are not fools. As they continue to expand, Those strongholds also began to unite to try to resist. But no amount of powerhouses can stop the 8 great divine masters. Except for Xianjiao and Gong Ming. Of the other 8 gods, the weakest of them all exceeded 5 million. In the entire downstream spacetime, it seems that no one with the divine power of more than 5 million has ever appeared. Maybe Broly and Jiangshang had a relationship, but the two just disappeared, never met from beginning to end. The original plan was to eradicate all strongholds within 10,000 years. But it only took 3,000 years. Because some strongholds were directly abandoned, the powerhouses of the Temple of Destruction were all gathered and everything. At the beginning, Jian Wushuang also wanted to try to ban these people, not wanting to add nutrients to the Temple of Destruction. Unfortunately, he still thought too simple. Even if he doesn't take action, these people will sacrifice themselves. Divine power is doubled directly, but life is passing by. One of the masters of the 7 Tribulations realm universe, after giving up his life, at the last moment of the battle, unexpectedly broke out 5 million divine powers. This is Jian Wushuang's intentional test. Otherwise, at the moment when the opponent sacrifices his life, he can kill him easily. He wanted to see how strong these practitioners would be after giving up their lives. It was beyond his expectations. The powerhouses of Qishan Temple, who could have been crushed, began to fall one after another. Fortunately, he reminded him, otherwise he would fall even more. These powerhouses of the Temple of Destruction are like lunatics. After giving up his life, he is not afraid of death at all. There is an emergency in the 74th tributary of the vast sea universe, and the nearest team is to rescue. Inside the Qishan dojo, Backbone Luo looked dignified and called out for help. A person who regards face as his life, but at this time he calls for help. Now the entire downstream spacetime is basically flat. There are only a few gathering spots left. I'm coming, Jian Wushuang said indifferently. He is the fastest. Can you resist the time of a stick of incense? Backbone Luo's complexion was gloomy. When he was about to nod his head, his expression changed dramatically again, and he said anxiously, I can't stop it. A master of the 7 Tribulations realm universe here burst out with tens of millions of divine powers. Millions of divine power. Everyone shuddered when they heard this number. Even Jian Wushuang frowned. The deity even took out the pyramid and shouted loudly at Babata. Open the secret realm level speed. At the same time, on the side of the law body, let the Backbone Luo Xian escape. Thousands of gods. Wu Zua and Wu Tian are not opponents when they meet. Not to mention others. Especially when Shang and Luo heard the 10 million divine power. They both had expressions of disbelief. They had never encountered such a powerful lord of the universe before. Its own divine power is only 3 million. Now that I hear that there is a 7 Tribulations realm universe, Lord's divine power, reaching tens of millions in the Temple of Destruction, I can still calm down. At the same time, he was also curious about Wuxian's strength. It is not a simple character to be able to resist under the powers of tens of millions of divine powers. At least the divine power is more than 5 million. This is still the weakest among Jian Wushuang and others. If necessary, escape first. After Jian Wushuang Dharma body left a sentence, he closed his eyes and stopped talking. Because the deity is already here. With the speed of a pyramid, has reached the vast sea universe in just a few breaths. There are several powerhouses of tributary time and space gathered here. In the 7 Tribulations realm alone, there are 3. There are also many lords of the 6 Tribulations realm universe. Originally, for the Backbone Luo, there was no threat here. The lords of the universe who sacrificed themselves were only 5 million strongest. But this time it hit the iron plate. The 9th team that followed all fell, including Witch Hall Master of Yuanyang Palace. He is the only one left. When the pyramid came, the Backbone Luo relaxed. If it wasn't for Jian Wushuang who gave them a lot of life force, I'm afraid he would just fall. At this time, I also felt a sense of fear. The battle of return was more cruel than he imagined. Jian Wushuang stepped out of the pyramid, and with a single point, the Lord of the 7 Tribulations realm universe, who had broken millions of divine powers, was locked in time and space, unable to move. Time is not passing, but the other person's life is constantly passing. It has nothing to do with time. Until the last moment, the other party's divine power reached 12 million, and then he fell with hatred. Jian Wushuang just wanted to see what the limit was. After the current 7 tribulations realm universe lord sacrificed his life, his ultimate divine power exploded to 12 million. He notified Jinling directly, and all the teams stopped. The rest of the stronghold was handed over to him and Hui Qing. At the same time, I am also speculating in my heart that the power of the universe masters behind these sacrifices is so powerful. So after the source and the divine body return to the Temple of Destruction, will the power added to the Temple of Destruction be so strong? If so, how much divine power has to be absorbed by the Temple of Destruction? Chapter 6088. The point is, this is just the beginning. Jian Wushuang frowned, glanced at the backbone Luo, and said indifferently, "Come in, I'll take you back." As for the fallen powerhouses, not even a physical body was left. After being frightened, the backbone Luo was a little stunned. After entering the pyramid, he recovered. Jian Wushuang, you already knew that, right? Backbone Luo stared at Jian Wushuang with his eyes wide open. Knowing what the other party was going to say, Jian Wushuang did not refute it. In fact, he has been emphasizing that it is not that simple to destroy life. The Temple of Destruction is not that simple. Why don't you listen to it? If you are afraid, you can stay here forever. He put his hands behind his back, his tone indifferent. Bring the other party back. His mission has been completed. As for death, it has nothing to do with these people. What's more, in the past 3,000 years, everyone has contributed a lot, which can be regarded as a repayment to the Qi Temple. The rest is his own. He didn't even think about pulling these people into the water. You can go anytime. He will even deliver it himself. After all, it is necessary to leave a route for the original universe and Qishan Temple. I know you despise me. The backbone Luo smiled bitterly, clenched his fists tightly, his eyes trembled and said loudly, "But I'm not a coward, I'm not afraid of death. And you don't need to give me anything." Backbone Luo's words made Jian Wushuang look shocked, but he didn't expect the other party to be so kind. He just shook his head sadly and said nothing. In fact, he prefers the other party to leave. There's no need to stay in this muddy water, because this is not the matter of Qishan Temple. He rode the pyramid, and did not rush back, but went to other large strongholds on the way to kill the powerhouses of the Temple of Destruction. It's just that I haven't met such a powerful Lord of the Universe after sacrificing myself again. The entire downstream spacetime has been fighting for thousands of years. Gradually calmed down. The powerhouses of the Temple of Destruction did not know whether they were controlled, or because of their beliefs, so none of them escaped. Just faced their strangulation. Sword Tomb. A secret universe in the downstream spacetime. The Temple of Destruction has quietly descended, moved his position. Although he moved his position, he did not conceal any breath. This is a battlefield chosen by the opponent. After Jian Wushuang felt the burst of breath, he transmitted the sound to Jinling. At this moment, Qishan Temple also opened up. All the strong gathered together. Jian Wushuang went outside the Temple of Destruction at the fastest speed, waiting for the arrival of the Temple of Qi. Next to him stood Hui Qing. As for the pyramid, it was left to Wu Zua and others, so as not to encounter danger again. Looking at the unfathomable Temple of Destruction, he really felt the same oppression from the Temple of Immortality. It's an artifact. Hui Qing frowned slightly. Jian Wushuang had expected it, and said indifferently, "It's nothing special. Pretend to be calm. There is a road to the foot of the mountain. Big deal, just turn over." The violent spatial shaking made the entire sword mound tremble. Then the entire space cracked open, and a towering temple was smashed down below. Countless figures also began to appear looming above the temple, condensing their true bodies in an instant. It is the many powerhouses of Qi Temple. But this time, all those who stood up were the lords of the universe above the 6 tribulations realm. plus Jian Wushuang and others. There are more than 30 people. Headed by the true spirit, he looked directly at the Temple of Destruction without any fear. Can you foresee this scene? The majestic tone was mixed with the shouts of countless people. That was the many strong men from inside the Qishan temple. At this time, Yuanyang Lake in the secret realm of the heavens turned into a sky, and the emperors, the lords of the universe, and even Daojun and Yin Xian, who were not qualified to participate in the war, were watching. Expectations of countless people. This is momentum. Unstoppable momentum. Jian Wushuang couldn't help moving his lips at this moment. Wait for the movement from the Temple of Destruction. What a big stage! In the Temple of Destruction, Miexing stood in the dim window. His tone was indifferent, and his eyes were looking at the sword mound below. Sword tomb. The ice covered countless sword-shaped mountains, crooked, and outlined a sword character, so it was named Jinzhong. There is also a metaphor here for the choice of extinction. Take down Jian Wushuang. It's time for me to appear. A strong voice resounded throughout the Temple of Destruction. It was Broly who was born to fight. He hasn't changed anything from before. He's still addicted to war. Since Qishan Temple shrank into a ball, he has never made a move again. If it hadn't been suppressed by destruction, he would have left the downstream time and space long ago. Now that Jian Wushuang has returned, the appearance of the biggest enemy and the biggest opponent has long since boosted his fighting spirit to its peak. You are in the Seven Tribulations realm, and you can't hold a sword in Jian Wu's hands. Miexing sneered. I think it's better to leave it to Jiang Shang. In the dimly lit hall, two figures walked together. Standing in the only place with a beam of light, the burly Broly was a little unconvinced, gritted his teeth and held back his rage. Another petite Jiang Shang has undergone earth-shaking changes from before. Today's Jiang Shang is the only master of the Eight Tribulations realm universe, except Hui Qing in the entire downstream time and space. Sitting down is the strongest existence. In fact, Jiang Shang and Broly are just tools. But Jiang Shang's achievements will be higher than Broly. Because Broly is a lunatic, Dushing has been suppressing each other. The more suppressed, the more crazy Broly, the more crazy the stronger. Don't look at it as the Lord of the Seven Tribulations realm universe. But because of the ultimate change of Tao, he can perform many changes and make his divine power skyrocket again and again. Even Jiang Shang and Broly felt it was very difficult. So Miexing wanted Jiang Shang to fight first, and then suppress Broly. But when Jiang Shang saw Hui Qing, there was hesitation in his eyes. The original rhetoric was instantly disintegrated. Jiang Shang's breathing was a little chaotic. Miexing leaked a smile and said indifferently, It's always something to face, isn't it? I will not let you down. Jiang Shang recovered his emotions, and his eyes became cold. No. Miexing turned around, looked at Jiang Shang gently, and dismissed. You are not for me. You are also for yourself. In fact, there are many things I want to say. I think you should also understand that I am not people from this time and space come here for the power of life, for Jian Wushuang, and our goals are the same. Goals are the same. As the of death, the representative of evil. How is it possible to achieve the same goals? If Jian Wushuang surrendered and let Miexing kill Jiang Shang, I am afraid that the other party would not hesitate. Jiang Shang is not stupid either. She knew that she was just a pawn, but she wanted to get caught up in it. Because of one breath. Why? Jiang Shang was indifferent on the surface, but he was roaring in his heart. Why? It's not me standing beside you. Chapter 6089. She stared at Hui Qing beside Jian Wushuang. The eyes are cold. Blame. Unwilling. Not understand. The fault is clearly Jian Wushuang. Why does the master he respects the most, stands with his enemy in everything? Why can't the master stand beside her? Go. Seeing that the heat was not bad, Miexing tore apart the space and teleported Jiang Shang out. Above the sword mound, Jiang Shang held the divine sword and appeared in the void. Hair waste, war and hatred blend. Gather an extremely powerful dojo. A towering giant tree appeared behind him. That is Wanlu Shenmu. When Jian Wushuang saw it, he was shocked. Wanlu Shenmu. He was taken aback. Taking a closer look, the virtual shadow was relieved. Wanlu Shenmu was brought by Weiss. Jiangshang's predecessor was the goddess of the ancient moon, time and space, and he was also a disciple of Weiss. Jiangshang should have referenced the origin universe created by Wanlu Shenmu, as well as the peak secret technique. Hui Qing. According to the original arrangement, Jinling shouted, "Fight!" Good. Hui Qing folded his hands together and took one step. Without any hesitation, the two face each other far away. Jiangshang was murderous. Some Hui Qing is just indifferent. Master. Jiangshang's tone was indifferent. This is the last trace of kindness between me and you. From then on we don't know each other. Hui Qing just looked at each other indifferently and didn't speak for a long time. Because he doesn't know what to say. Do you want to tell your disciples to let go of hatred and not be enemies with them? Such words, even if he were dead, would not be said. So he chose not to speak. Don't start first. I just want to wait until the death is resolved before making a decision. Jian Wushuang, you will only harm the people closest to you. Seeing that Hui Qing was indifferent, Jiangshang still couldn't bear to take the shot first. She wanted Hui Qing to attack her first. This is better than her taking the first shot against her master. The two masters and apprentices, until today, blamed Jian Wushuang. Now Jian Wushuang is hiding behind him like a normal person. Like a coward. No sense of responsibility. Jiangshang kept verbally attacking Jian Wushuang. This made the strong men on the Qi Temple side feel very embarrassed. Jian Wushuang is the first of Qi Temple, but was scolded by the nose. Wuxia couldn't stand it anymore, coughed dryly and persuaded. It's almost there, don't forget who saved you. And now you are an enemy of Qishan Temple. You are a traitor. You are not qualified to say these words. Wuxia. Jian Wushuang stretched out his hand to stop the opponent, and said to Jiangshang, I am wrong about your brother, I admit it. If you say these words to make you feel better, then say it. This blow is a drizzle to him. I haven't seen any big scenes. No enemy has ever been encountered. Right and wrong, with him has become more and more diluted. Sometimes there are too many scruples, and you lose far more than you gain. Jiangshang took a deep breath, and it was almost time to vent his hatred. The battle has not yet begun. Jinling is happy to see this scene. If there is one less opponent, then one less. But Miexing couldn't sit still. Jiangshang, who had cultivated for so long, couldn't be fooled back by a few words. He could see it, and now Jiangshang is just a word from Hui Qing. Probably won't be able to fight. This will not work. Jiangshang has high potential, and is of great use to him. Definitely a weapon against Jian Wushuang. He didn't want to just give up. If that's the case, then don't blame me. Miexing held a trace of soul power in his hand, and threw it out of the Temple of World Destruction, loudly reminding Jiangshang, don't forget how your brother died. If I succeed in casting reincarnation, can help you resurrect your brother. Soul power turned into an altar through the Temple of Destruction. Above the altar, the unyielding young man was being staged scene by scene, struggling in a pool of blood. There is perseverance in his eyes, and there is unwillingness to give up. Childish face. Let Jiangshang remember for a lifetime. So much so that her hands were shaking. Seeing this scene, Jinling jumped and scolded. Miexing, you have no shame. Go to confuse a junior if you have the kind. You will come out and fight Jian Wushuang. I will admit it if you lose. Late. Jiangshang can give up everything for his relatives. War. The divine sword as thin as a cicada's wings pierced through time and space, piercing everything. He rushed towards Hui Qing, who was standing in front of him. Finally got started. Hui Qing clasped his hands together, stretched out instantly, and pushed his palm forward, revealing an incomparable posture. The powerful divine power impacted the entire downstream space-time. Everyone in the Qi Temple took a deep breath. The fluctuation of divine power just now exceeded 15 million. This is a very unfamiliar number to them, because 5 million is already a huge number in their eyes. The moment they saw Hui Qing's shot, they understood why Jian Wushuang and others had such great confidence. Jinling smiled lightly. He already knew the details of Hui Qing. because Huiqing would not hide it. As long as he asked, he would say, "If it is Jian Wushuang, it cannot do this." So Zhenling never asked Jian Wushuang. After Huiqing returned to Qishan Temple, Zhenling had long since asked Huiqing privately a Kanshu. What is the strength of calm? 15 million divine power. The true spirits at that time were similar to the people of today. They were all astonished and shocked. But there is also joy. With such a powerful force, this battle is settled. Although Jiang Shang was in the 8 tribulations realm, he only had the divine power worthy of tens of thousands. It is considered a peak powerhouse of the 8 tribulations realm, but it is incomparable to Huiqing. Everyone felt that Huiqing could easily take down Jiang Shang. Knowing that the other party was in a master-disciple relationship, there was no need to kill him, just suppress him. This is what everyone thinks. But only Jian Wushuang could see that Huiqing had no intention of making a move. A palm came out, but it stopped an inch away from Jiang Shang's face. However, Jiang Shang's divine sword pierced into Huiqing's chest. Go straight to the divine body and the source. Huiqing had no defense at all. Without any precautions, let go of your own origin and let others attack. Although Jiang Shang's strength was incomparable to Huiqing's, but without any defense, he was still seriously injured, and a trace of blood overflowed from the corner of his mouth. Huiqing looked at Jiang Shang stupidly, just like before. Do you know why I haven't persuaded you from beginning to end? Why? Jiang Shang's eyes were cold and stern. He didn't give up because of Huiqing's mercy. He instilled divine power again, and kept destroying Huiqing's origin. Because I don't want you to live in guilt in the future. You and I can only live one. If he died today, Jiang Shang would also die under the sword of Jian Wushuang. Let him know everything. Thinking of this, Huiqing forcibly improved his divine power regardless of the source that was shattered. Huiqing! Jian Wushuang's eyes flashed in the distance, knowing Huiqing's plan and wanting to take action. It's not that he is worried about Huiqing, but Jiang Shang. Chapter 60-90. He saw it. Huiqing really wanted to kill Jiang Shang this time. This is not the fantasy of Babidi. Jiang Shang will really fall. The one that cannot be resurrected. Jiang Shang's cause and effect were originally planted by him. Only he can unlock it. Huiqing couldn't be allowed to bear it alone. So he will stop. But everything was too late. Huiqing's palm had already touched Jiang Shang's forehead. The aftermath of the circle spread instantly, and it struck a palm of 10 million divine powers. A blow that was enough to kill Jiang Shang. Boom! Jiang Shang's body flew out backwards. The source and the divine body were all shattered. Even the Wanlu Shenmu, behind him, collapsed at this moment. Inside the Temple of Destruction, Brole, it's your turn to play. Miesheng was very indifferent to Jiang Shang's defeat, without any fluctuations, as if nothing had happened. This made Broly very curious. Miesheng clearly valued Jiang Shang the most. How could Jiang Shang's origin shattered, and was about to perish, yet he seemed so indifferent. So much so that he couldn't help but ask curiously. She has fallen, so you don't have to worry. What are you worried about? Miesheng turned to look at Broly and said indifferently, Are you worried that you will also fall? Although Jiang Shang had fallen, Broly did not feel any nervousness. Instead, his fighting spirit became stronger, and he was not afraid at all. In the face of death, he snorted coldly, I will not lose. Haha, I believe in you. You hold this piece of Lingjing. If you lose it, you can crush it. It's a little help from me. Miesheng threw a piece of black Lingjing to Broly. Don't waste it. He will be a witness to the highlights of your life. Broly, who originally wanted to be tough, did not refuse to catch Lingjing. Without saying a word, he smashed the space of the Temple of Destruction and rushed out with a casual blow. Above the sword mound, Huiqing dragged his tired body back to the team. His expression was a little lonely. Because Jiang Shang really fell this time. Even the source has returned to the Temple of Destruction. End it. The torture for him is over. All the guilt fell on him. He will be depressed for the rest of his life. Live in pain. This scene is what Jian Wushuang does not want to see. If he knew earlier, he would have done it himself. In this way, It's a big deal to make Huiqing hate him for the rest of his life. And he doesn't want Huiqing to live in guilt. Huiqing. I'm fine. Huiqing Qiang squeezed out a smile and shook his head. With his appearance, anyone can see that something is wrong. And it's still a knot in the heart that's hard to unravel for a lifetime. The goddess told me back then that she had already made peace with me. I don't know how long it will take me to make peace with me. Huiqing smiled bitterly, sat down cross-legged and slowly closed her eyes. Jian Wushuang took a deep breath and clenched his fists. He put all of this on the head of destruction. After he devoured the power of death, and asked Danbao for help, he should be able to resurrect Jiang Shang and her brother. It just takes a long time. Now Danbao has no time, and he has not defeated Desheng. But this can be counted as his future goals. Even if there is still such a powerful enemy in the world god continent to welcome him. Anyway, the dead is too much to overwhelm him. Whoa! The space trembled. There are cracks in the mountains below which have been frozen for countless epochs. A tall and straight figure appeared in the void above the sword mound. Broly, the last of the two supreme powerhouses in the Temple of Destruction. Jiang Shang was easily resolved by Huiqing. A Broly, no one cared about it. Even if Jian Wushuang felt that the other party had something, he didn't care too much. He has been waiting to die. Broly is out now. I am afraid it will come out soon. Wu Zhuo, it's up to you. Zhenling turned to look at Wu Zhuo and smiled lightly. Don't let me down. End the battle as soon as possible. Broly's divine power is far inferior to Jiang Shang. And it is only the Lord of the Seven Tribulations realm universe. Wu Zhuo, who likes to perform, has long exposed his old bottom to Zhenling to read it, and he knows that his divine power is more than 8 million. It's not easy to deal with the Broly. Wu Zhuo glanced at Huiqing, and felt that the battle just now was too tragic, so he thought to ease the atmosphere, moved his shoulders and neck in a similar manner, shook his wrist and said lightly, "Give me a stick of incense. In time, I will show you what divine power is." As soon as he finished speaking, his figure flashed, and he was already in front of Broly. "It's you." Broly didn't expect Wu Zhuo to fight, and felt that Qi Shindian looked down on him, and suddenly roared. His divine power instantly soared to 5 million. The figure jumped, punched and rushed to Wu Zhuo. Wu Zhuo was very calm, neither dodging nor dodging. At the moment when Broly punched close, he raised his leg and kicked Broly's face fiercely, only to say that the opponent had kicked into the mountain below. He only used 5 million divine power for this kick, but he was able to use his skills to surpass the opponent's brute force punch. Broly, who fell into the mountains, smashed several majestic mountains one after another before stopping. Unbearable. Wu Zhuo put his hands around his chest, looked down at Broly who fell into the mountains, looked up and said to the Temple of Destruction, "Destiny, why don't you come out and fight with me, so that I can take it?" With 70% of his divine power would be too useless. But before his words were finished, a violent beast had awakened in the shattered ice in the mountains. Broly's eyes were red, and the breath on his body was also changing. He clenched his fists and roared up to the sky. "Ah!" Divine power also began to skyrocket at this moment. From 5 million, it soared directly to 7 million. He rose into the air again and attacked Wu Zhuo. "Wu Zhuo, make a quick decision." Jian Wushuang was a little worried and reminded. He knew how difficult Broly was. At the beginning, the continuous improvement of divine power made him have a headache. If he hadn't mastered the true meaning of time and space in advance, he wouldn't necessarily have defeated Broly. After all, it can resist his strongest sword. Broly's strength is absolutely no less than Jiang Shang. Even the Seven Tribulations realm cannot be underestimated. It's a pity Wu Zhuo didn't listen. Seeing Broly's strength soaring made him very excited, and he took the initiative to fall into the mountain range of Sword Mound and fight with Broly. But this time Wu Zhuo also got serious. Directly in the peak state, 8 million divine powers exploded, and they kept beating Broly. It can be said to ravage each other. Not bad. Zhenling couldn't help but praise. Absolutely, Wu Zhuo has grown too fast. Suddenly so powerful. 8 million divine powers are very pale to say, but when they are displayed, They are very shocking. When Qishan was at his peak, he was not so powerful. Even if Qishan cultivates the origin, he is not as good as Wuxia in terms of divine power. Wuxia can be ranked in the top 3 in the 7 tribulation realms of the entire northern time and space. Naturally, it is much stronger than the original Qishan. As for the number 1, of course it is Jian Wushuang. Chapter 6091. The Lord of the 7 Tribulations Realm Universe. His divine power can explode to 20 million. If it wasn't that the northern time and space couldn't carry it, it would still be stronger. This Broly is really resistant to fighting. Under such a strong attack, his divine power has not declined. Shang couldn't help but exclaimed, "Is the transformation of his cultivation really so powerful?" At this time, the others also reacted and found that Broly had been beaten all the time, but his divine power had not declined. Instead, it keeps getting stronger. At this time, Wuxia's strength began to decline. "I've been going all out, and now it's more than a stick of incense. And I haven't been able to solve the battle. This is somewhat out of the ordinary. Why don't I help him?" Wuxian also felt that something was wrong at this time. He glanced at Jinling and asked for the titular leader. Jinling took a deep breath and was a little impatient after waiting. He waved his hand and said, "Go just in time for you to practice your hands too." "Wait a minute." Jian Wushuang stopped Wuxian, who wanted to shoot, turned his head and said to Jinling, "It's useless to go to many people now. Because of Broly's divine power, it has changed again. It has already reached the consensus with Wuxia. 8 million. And the current fight is not unilaterally crushed. Broly is fighting back." Even Wuxia began to feel a little weak, and his divine power continued to decline. Was overtaken by Broly. Boom! In a careless way, Broly's punch had already hit Wuxia's face. This time he fell into the mountains. After climbing out of the frozen gravel, Wuxia panicked. Just now, he could easily dodge Broly's punch, but now he can't dodge, and the power of that punch surpassed him. Damn! This lunatic obviously doesn't have any superb secrets. How can he be so strong? He is the real estate king. He has obtained so many inheritances. And he has also been to the realm continent. In the 7 tribulations realm, apart from Jian Wushuang who can suppress him, no one dares to say that they can suppress him. Even Wuxian, who fell into the endless hell, would not give him such a lot of pressure. But now, he has fallen into a disadvantage to the previous junior, who he despised at the beginning. This made his face a little uneasy. The power of the realm king. He increased his divine power again, and directly cast the secret technique of the realm king. Divine power exploded to 9 million. This is his limit. Wuxian, who was originally stopped, couldn't help but said at this time, "You already knew that Wuxia still has a whole card?" "No." Jian Wushuang shook his head and then affirmed, "It's Wuxia who can't win. Neither of you can win." "How is that possible?" Wuxian dared not doubt Jian Wushuang's insight, but he doubted Broly's ability. Nothing is impossible. Broly is a lunatic who can give people infinite fantasies. Watch it carefully. Jian Wushuang folded his arms and watched quietly. When Broly broke out for the second time, he could see that there was still this huge power in Broly's body that had not erupted. The limit can at least reach 13 million. No one can solve it except him and Hui Qing. Now it's just to give Wu the left face, and there is no hurry to end. However, 30% of his psychic power has been staring at Broly, and once it is beyond Wuxia's control, he will go to the rescue as soon as possible. It's just that Wuxia has not yet shown his real combat power. The king's fist has not been used yet. But soon, Wuxia, whose feet fell into the ground, clenched his fists, his body burst into red light and shouted, "Jiwanquan!" With a roar of dragons, the figure instantly appeared behind Broly, and his fists came out, directly bombarding Broly's tall and straight back. Boom! Broly didn't stand still and almost fell. Broly, who was in pain, roared, turned around and opened his mouth directly, and a beam of destruction burst out from his mouth. Wuxia, who had no time to dodge, could only resist. Fighting again against the beam of destruction, Kaiwang fists kept bombarding Broly's divine body into utter madness. However, in this way, his divine power was continuously consumed and plummeted. But Broly's divine power has not changed. It didn't decrease, it didn't get stronger. Just like an indestructible puppet. No matter how Wuxia did everything he could, there was nothing he could do. Boom. At close range, Wuxia's body softened after he used divine power to shake Broly back thousands of miles with one hand and one palm. Even if he wanted to save face, he felt too tired at this time. And the whole person was about to collapse. He looked up in the direction of Qishan Temple, panting and shouting, "Brother Wuxia, hurry. Give me some power of all things, I'm almost successful." Alas, Junling covered her face. Thinking of Haikao under Wuxia's crotch, she felt a little embarrassed. Jian Wuxuang moved and fell on the mountain range of Jiantum. Instead of looking at Wuxia, he looked at Broly in the distance, and said indifferently, "Take it." Condensed a mass of the power of all things, and threw it to Wuxia below. Puff! Wuxia directly caught it with the divine body, and instantly absorbed it into the divine body. Divine power also returned to its peak at this moment. The divine power of 9 million exploded in an instant, and he wanted to take another shot. "Brother Wuxia." Jian Wuxuang then looked down at Wuxia and shouted loudly, "It's okay if I don't come down. I suddenly feel itchy when I come to. Why don't you let me pick up a cheap one?" How could the smart Wuxia not understand the meaning of Jian Wuxuang? This is to give him a step down. In the battle just now he almost vomited. I wanted someone to replace him for a long time. I just asked Jian Wuxuang for the power of all things. Just want Jian Wuxuang to help. But he was concerned about his face, so he didn't speak well. You can only pretend to be powerless and ask Jian Wuxuang for the power of all things. Now that there are steps, he put on an embarrassed look inside. "It's you, change someone. I won't let this credit go, there's no way. Who made us brothers?" "Thank you so much." Jian Wuxuang could only cooperate with Wuxia's performance, and cooperated with the other party, with a look of how much he took advantage of. Wuxia sorted out the disturbed yellow robe, and his figure slowly lifted into the air and waved at him, not caring. "It's all my own, don't be so polite. Broly now has only one breath left. Beat him with one punch." Cough cough. Junling covered his mouth and coughed dryly. Even he felt that Wuxia was too shameless. So many people present, even the Lord of the Six Tribulations Realm universe, can see that Wuxia is no longer invincible. It just so happens to be so face. Who is this for? Is it possible that he can hide from the death? Wuxia returned to the team with a blushing face and a heartbeat. Fortunately, he didn't even have to brag about himself. Jian Wuxuang, who stayed below, agreed with Wuxia's last sentence. One move to defeat the opponent. Broly can't be allowed to grow. Even if it is to protect Wuxia's face, it must be a hit. Chapter 6092. Clang. He even drew his sword. The blue blade was drawn from behind. "You are the puppet of death, then end you with death. Draw the sword, return the sheath." All in one go. A black sword shadow descended from the sky. Countless forces of death fell, attacking Broly's divine body. This sword is very ordinary. It's so ordinary that everyone doesn't feel that there is anything wrong. And it has already started. Even Miesheng was surprised. But he was surprised that Jian Wuxuang had mastered the power of death to such an extent. Broly faced the sword shadow without any fear, and took it with both hands. Want to resist? However, he was reminded by the sound transmission of destruction. "Avoid! Can you dodge the sword?" Jian Wuxuang sneered, his hands attached. Waiting for Broly's fall, Destiny's debut. In his view it was doomed. But Broly, he didn't believe it. Both hands firmly caught the death sword shadow. But this is just the beginning. The sword shadow kept wrapping Broly. That was death pulling him. Once you're in it, you're really dead. What? Broly also felt unprecedented pressure, constantly roaring to improve his divine power, to take this sword hard. Although Jian Wuxuang did not perform super eternal change. But with his current basic divine power and robbery armor, there are tens of millions of divine powers. Using the source of Kendo, it is more than 15 million divine powers. His basic divine power can be counted as 10 million because of the robbery armor. But his basic source, if converted into divine power, is definitely beyond 15 million. This is the Sword of Death again, contains the power of death. Even 15 million divine power practitioners could not stop this sword. He didn't believe Broly could stop it. The opponent has reached the limit. Will fall soon. Unfortunately, Broly's next move shocked everyone, including Annihilation. Broly, who was completely insane, forgot to use the Black Ling Jing that Dushin gave him. His mind was full of wanting to crush the Death Sword shadow in front of him. Divine power also broke through 10 million unknowingly, soon to be as many as 15 million, far beyond Jian Wushuang's expectations. It also exceeded expectations of death. It was a surprise. He wouldn't be surprised if Broly used Black Ling Jing, because that is his accumulation over the years, all in the Black Ling Jing. According to his plan, after Broly used the Black Ling Jing, no matter how powerful the opportunity and inheritance Jian Wushuang got, he would fall and be swallowed by him today. How is this possible? Jian Wushuang's eyes widened, staring at Broly in disbelief. The other party really surprised him countless times. The Sword of Death was actually blocked. Still blocked. This time he had the will to fight. Fighting intent from Broly. Come on, crush Ling Jing. Mieshing didn't care, and still reminded Broly through voice transmission. Blocking doesn't mean winning. The Sword of Death has not been cracked, and it is not a solution to hold it like this. Is it possible to hold it all the time? Take Jian Wushuang as a fool. Seeing that Broly's potential was so great, Jian Wushuang had already moved to kill, and still very firm. It can be said that it is on the must-kill list of Jian Wushuang. One Jiang Shang made him dizzy, and he couldn't have another Broly. Broly, who had regained a trace of consciousness at this time, also thought of the Black Ling Jing, and hurriedly took it out of his body. At this time, Jian Wushuang also rushed over faster than time. Want to take the opportunity to kill Broly, especially when he saw the Black Ling Jing. But he was still a step behind. Just after taking out the Black Ling Jing, Broly smashed it without hesitation. A powerful aura erupted instantly, and Jian Wushuang, who had not approached Broly, was directly shaken back. The power comes from the Black Ling Jing, and these power swords are still very familiar. It is the power of death. The power of death from those practitioners in the downstream time and space. Endless resentment and death converged into a ball and entered Broly's body. The black armor that was originally wrapped in the whole body was shattered by the shock, leaking out of the strong chest, as well as these countless scars. Broly shouted uncontrollably, and the last trace of consciousness disappeared because of the Black Ling Jing. Broly, who was not resisting the Death Sword, easily absorbed the power of death in the Death Sword into his divine body. Die Broly. This made Jian Wushuang think of Qi Jiuxiao. Like Broly, he's a lunatic. A terrifying lunatic. A lunatic with a power of over 30 million. It's just that when I met a madman, there were the Shenmu King, the great monk in Danbao. This time, he encountered the same lunatic, but no one helped him. It can't be delayed. Jian Wushuang wanted to take advantage of Broly's madness to deal with the opponent. He shouted angrily, and directly performed the super ancient transformation. The divine power exploded directly to 20 million. Instant shot. Taking advantage of the fact that the other party has not fully absorbed the power of death, it has resulted in the other party's life. But when he rushed over, he realized that he couldn't break the death shield outside Broly alone. How is that possible? Zhenling was dumbfounded when he saw this scene. It was still an absolute advantage just now. How did Broly become so strong in an instant? Now Jian Wushuang's breath he can't see through, beyond his comprehension, but still can't beat Broly directly. Seeing the breath on Broly's body, Hui Qing opened his eyes and exclaimed, "It's the power of those practitioners in the Temple of Destruction. No wonder I couldn't find their origin. It turned out to be the Temple of Destruction." What? Wu Zuo exclaimed, "How could this happen? Can destiny be able to manipulate the origin of the downstream space-time?" It's not manipulation, It's isolation, just like Beirut, the king of ruin. Hui Qing said calmly. This is very simple for some gods. The origin of the northern time and space, in the eyes of the gods, is vulnerable. Although it hurts people, it is true. Beirut can do it, and so can death. Which Kaiwan god candidate Zamas can do it better. Northern time and space, in the eyes of those big men, is like a plaything. Then what should I do now? Jinling panicked. He couldn't understand what Wu Zua and Hui Qing were saying, but he could understand that Broly might not be able to solve it now, let alone that there was another death that didn't show up. Hui Qing slowly got up and comforted. Don't worry, Brother Wushuang's strength is not as simple as you think. Indeed, Jian Wushuang's strength is far from that. The big deal is to use God's domain. What's more, no matter how strong Broly is, it is impossible to break through the limit carried by the northern time and space. The same 20 million divine power. Jian Wushuang never loses to anyone. Simply, he waited for Broly to merge. Chapter 6093. It can't break the opponent's death shield anyway. The powerful force of death completely transformed Broly into a puppet after death. Broly's hair turned pale green. Outside of the divine body, Zeshur has a dark black shield, and these arcs flicker. Completely absorbed the power of death, and completely mastered the power of death. Broly now is the real of death. Haha. Inside the Temple of Destruction, the Annihilation alone said madly. Prepare for death, mortal. Click. Broly walked slowly towards Jian Wushuang, and every time he stepped on, he smashed the ice stone that had been frozen for endless years, and the sound was harsh. On the other side, Jian Wushuang felt the oppression he once felt. He put the sword of myriad tribulations into the scabbard. This time, he will use divine power to defeat divine power. Ah! Jian Wushuang clenched his fists, raised his divine power to the extreme, and shouted angrily. Ha! Broly also walked up to him at this time. The arcs on the two gods are colliding. One high and one low. The four eyes are relative. And it's very close. Only 1 foot apart. The two stared at each other, not knowing what they were waiting for. The silence around was terrifying. The sound of a piece of gravel cracking on the mountain can be heard very carefully. Jinling and the many powerhouses of Qi Temple stared at this scene, also holding their breaths, not daring to blink, for fear of not seeing the most exciting fight between the two superpowers. Call! The moment his chest went up and down, Jian Wushuang shot first. The body leaned back and punched out, hitting Broly firmly in the abdomen. The punch made Broly bow down. Jian Wushuang took the opportunity to raise his knee and kicked Broly in the face. This blow directly kicked Broly into the air. His figure flashed, and his speed surpassed Broly, who was kicked. Just before Broly stabilized his body, he threw Broly into the ground with another fist. This time, the entire sword tomb was shattered. Beneath the ice, there is an endless stream of hot magma. Sword tomb also turned into hell. A series of attacks, he used all his strength without any hold. Divine power can be set to play to the extreme. But Broly, who fell into the magma, was like nothing else. His body slowly rose, looked up at Jian Wushuang, and the corners of his mouth rose, as if he was sneering. Jian Wushuang licked the corner of his mouth, gathered strong divine power in his hands, and continuously burst out blue light beams falling from the sky, hitting Broly below. He didn't believe it anymore. His divine power would still lose to his peers. In fact, he and Broly are not on the same level at all. Because of the power of death that Broly absorbed, it was equivalent to giving up. Don't look at it right now, in fact it won't last long. The other party is not like Qi Jiuxiao, who completely operates the heart of death, only its appearance. Boom! The violent noise shattered the time and space of the sword mound, and the place was completely turned into scorched earth. All power was shattered by Jian Wushuang's divine power. One can imagine how powerful his explosion just now was. Even if it exists in the ancient times, it is difficult to resist, and it will be seriously injured if it does not die. The blood-colored magma went upstream and swept the void, completely covered Broly, As the magma gradually dissipated, Broly's figure leaked out of it. Intact. How is that possible? Jian Wushuang was stunned. The attack just now had no effect at all. At the Qishan temple, Zhenling held his head in both hands and fell into self-contemplation. He really didn't understand how a once half-step 7 tribulation realm annihilation could cultivate such a monster. Forget about Jian Wushuang defying the sky. When he was in the Qi temple, he was just a monarch, and he is so powerful now because of what he learned in the upstream time and space. How can Broly be so defiant? Among the original batch of inheritors, Broly was not the inheritor on the mountain of the tomb, and the true spirit did not care about the other party. It was only after he was captured by Di Shengsheng that he realized that the potential of the other party was unusual. It is comparable to Jian Wushuang and Hui Qing. The back also confirmed his own ideas. But since the return of Jian Wushuang and Hui Qing, he felt that Broly was at the top of the business. Compared with Jian Wushuang or Hui Qing, it was completely different. It was only now that he opened his eyes. Hui Qing, I think something is wrong. Why don't you help me? Zhenling turned to look at Hui Qing. Although his strength is not very good, he still has a vision. Although Jian Wushuang didn't draw his sword just now, he showed it. The divine power has also reached its limit. None of this hurt Broly in the slightest. After the opponent absorbs the power of death, but has not yet shot, what if they completely suppress Jian Wushuang? Now the heavy burden of Qishan Temple lies on Jian Wushuang and Hui Qing, so nothing can happen. Hui Qing did not expect Broly to be so powerful. I thought it would be a solid win this time. Therefore, when he fought against Jiang Shang, he lost most of his divine power. And now he is still seriously injured. His basic divine power is still there, but he can no longer use his future body. Unable to help Jian Wushuang. Your injury? Zhenling also saw that Hui Qing's face was wrong, and quickly asked, how long does it take for your injury to recover? I still have the power of life. Hui Qing, however, nodded. It's useless, my current divine power can't be restored with ordinary life force. I still have to give Wushuang brother some confidence. Wuzwa stood up at this time and comforted. Although he can't defeat Broly, the other party may not be able to defeat Wushuang. There is no need. But he wasn't finished yet. Broly, suspended on the hot magma, has already started. His divine power aroused the magma below, and suddenly a stormy wave was set off, rising like his breath. Jian Wushuang. With a low roar, the entire downstream spacetime of Zhen trembled. Jian Wushuang's figure above was a little unstable, and he felt an unprecedented sense of oppression gathering. Humph! He snorted coldly, facing him. No one can help him now. Only face it alone. And he still has a whole card and a backhand. No matter how powerful Broly is, it cannot shake him. But other people don't know. In the battle with Broly, Jian Wushuang has gradually fallen into the disadvantage. It was fine when we just fought, and it was able to hold steady. Later, Broly became stronger and stronger, as if there was endless divine power that could not erupt in the body, breaking the limit again and again. Although it is only 20 million divine power, it can burst out the might of 25 million divine power. The shocking Jian Wushuang was about to fall apart. Broly punched to the flesh, extremely fierce. And it is the kind of ferocity that is desperate, and he doesn't care about his attack at all. And he has to make the strongest attack when he leaks his own flaws. But Jian Wushuang couldn't even break the defense. Now only to fend off Broly's attack. Boom! 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 Chapter 6094. Broly punched 3 incomparably heavy fists in a row, coming straight at him. The terrifying power ripped apart the space. Together with this tributary of time and space, it began to shatter. The desolation on the other side began to shatter. Jian Wushuang frowned, his hands blocked in front of him, and he exploded suddenly. Starry Sky Dojo! He raised his head and shouted angrily, forcibly blocking the 3 punches Broly hit. But because of this, he also shattered the body of God, and his chest began to collapse. A burst of blood rushed to my heart. Puff! This time he really couldn't hold back, and he spit out a mouthful of blood. Damn, how can his divine power be so strong? After wiping the corner of his mouth, Jian Wushuang couldn't help but scolded secretly. It had been almost a day, and Broly's divine power showed no sign of weakening. How to fight this? His divine power is limitless to ordinary people, but compared to the pervert of Broly, he couldn't stand it any longer. Fortunately, he prepared enough, but that was reserved for the extinction. I haven't seen the shadow of death now, but Broly has consumed a lot of primordial stone and the power of all things. This will not work. He has to consider whether this is the strongest fight of his return. If not, he will have to do it quickly. Quickly resolve the other party. It's not good for him to drag on like this. Moreover, Hui Qing was seriously injured and could not help him. Clang! After hesitating for a long time, he still chose to draw the sword. The ice blue sword edge pointed directly at Broly. Originally, you were not qualified to let me draw the sword. I don't know if you were lucky, or if I was impatient. Jian Wushuang folded his arms in half, holding the sword of myriad tribulations in between. Pass through. Are you ready to face it? The strongest secret, the strongest secret. Star Catalog. Broly, who fell into madness, was stunned for a moment, tilted his head, and did not look directly at Jian Wushuang, and rushed over again after turning around. Obviously, he doesn't care about this kind of verbal provocation. Tsk tisk. Jian Wushuang was amused by the opponent's actions. He was also amused by himself. What to say to a lunatic? It's a direct battle. Double swords. Slide cut. One-handed death, one-handed life. The sword of 10,000 tribulations split into two. With the two swords in front of him, Jian Wushuang transformed into a streamer and instantly passed through Broly, who was rushing. Even the time and space are cut open together. Ha! He exhaled lightly, and the two swords merged into one, holding them upside down behind him. He turned his head silently and looked at Broly. The two swords can even cut through the void. That is the power of the starry sky. Beyond time and space, the stunning degree of the double swords made destruction feel a little ashamed. The power of the starry sky. He has mastered the power of the starry sky to such an extent. Miesheng frowned. He is the of the starry sky, and naturally he also mastered the power of the starry sky. Based on death, he can also burst into a powerful star power. But at present, compared with Jian Wushuang, he is not as good as Jian Wushuang. If it is in the starry sky, Jian Wushuang is naturally nothing. But here is the northern time and space. His power of death has been suppressed, not to mention the power of the stars. No wonder I can't see through his future, or even change his future. Miesheng's eyes turned, and at this moment he felt a sense of unease. That unease comes from Jian Wushuang's potential. Broly is a variable to Jian Wushuang, but Jian Wushuang is not a variable to destroying life. Suddenly disappeared, and after returning, it reached the limit of the northern time and space. Alright, better than I don't need to suppress my strength. At that time, he can devour Jian Wushuang's life force in a prosperous state. This eliminates the steps to grow later. It can let him directly cast reincarnation and return to the position of the star again. Ha! A familiar aura was peeping at him. Miesheng turned his head and shouted outside the hall. Shanjun, don't you want to take a look at your high disciple? Jiejia. After a strange noise, an evil figure walked into the hall. The figure was like an abyss, and it was swallowed up by itself. It is Shanjun. Over the years, Miesheng has gathered all the rest of the devouring demons. Help Shanjun to recover to the level of devouring the devil. Back then, Kishin's Tao was transformed into 3 Shanjun, Majuan and Gujuan. And Shanjun turned into 5 again. Shanjun himself added 1 demon, Feng demon, Gorefiend, and Heart demon. I'm not his master. I just thought he was expected to inherit and devour one. Shanjun shook his head silently. Miesheng sneered at this and said coldly, if this is the case, then I can't keep his hands on him. Do you think I have room to keep my hand? Shanjun responded with a wry smile. He is no more than an ordinary 7 tribulations realm now. Even after swallowing the demon lord, it will be at the peak of the 7 tribulations realm at most. There is also an ancient gentleman trapped in the Qi temple, and he has not been brought out for so many years. At the beginning, Zhenling captured Shang and Luo, and wanted to change Gujuan and Heart Demon. But the true spirit did not agree. In the end, with the lives of Shang and Luo, only one Heart Demon came back. Later, the Qi Temple went straight to the home, and Gujun's plan was put on hold, so it was shelved. Regarding this matter, Miexing has always been very calm. He didn't even look at Shanjun and said firmly, "Don't belittle yourself, we still have a chance, and it's very big." TSK Tisk, apart from the relatively complete plan to abolish Huiqing, you have already lost control of Jian Wushuang. Shanjun shook his head and smiled bitterly. You gave up Jiangshang too early, and Huiqing's threat is not as big as you think. Hearing Shanjun's last sentence, Miexing frowned, turned his head slowly and looked stern, and said in a low voice, "You know what, Jian Wushuang is a variable. I can't see his future, but I can see it. For my future, I have a certainty of winning against Jian Wushuang. But for Huiqing, I have seen myself fail. So Jiangshang must die, and at the hands of Huiqing, and press the treasures to Broly, so that we can win. And you can also survive with the help of the way of devouring. Return to the starry sky with me. Be a resurrection practitioner, do you understand?" Di Sheng's tone was angry, and it was his inner demon that created reincarnation. I don't know how many times to travel through time, and go to the future, just for this moment. Go back to the past many times, but failed to prevent failure. No one can shake his determination. This is the closest he has come to success. Must hold. Shanjun clenched his fists, although he was a little angry, but all this was his choice, and he couldn't blame anyone. What I just said was actually said to myself. Just can't go with yourself. Watching the Qishan temple line up again, fighting against the of death. However, in order to survive, he stood on the opposite side. It's torture. Outside world. Jian Wushuang held the divine sword upside down, and turned to look at Broly. I thought you were indestructible. He frowned, revealing a smile. The two swords just now, although they failed to bring down Broly's divine body, have already broken the opponent's death shield. Chapter 6095. The latest website. Killing with one sword may not be possible. But what about 100 swords and 10,000 swords? Can you stop it? Broly was a little dazed by the sword just now. After shaking his head and sobering up, he didn't realize that the sword just now could threaten him, and rushed to Jian Wushuang again. Like wild beasts, they want to shred Jian Wushuang. Life and death depend on each other, and reincarnation is endless. Jian Wushuang took a good stance, and the sword of myriad tribulations rose. The sword of reincarnation has gradually formed. This sword is 100 times more powerful than the two-sword sliding slash just now. That is enough to make the death cycle crazy. It was only turned into a sword cold light by Jian Wushuang. Sword of Samsara. OM. The violent power of the starry sky describes the tragic situation on the ground. The breath spread, directly shaking Broly back. The reincarnation sword also slashed away, swept over everything, and was about to smash Broly to pieces. This is the power of reincarnation. Broly, who was deeply immersed in it, could not control the constant retreat of his body, and his entire body entered the core of the Samsara sword. Whereas Wanjian suspended above his head, there is a chill in the wind. Ice blue blade hanging high. Broly felt the chill. Die! Jian Wushuang spat out a word. It was like an imperial decree in reincarnation, which directly sentenced the opponent to death. Reality really means that. Broly's body began to twist. The power of death cannot resist the judgment from reincarnation. Ha! The unwilling Broly waved his hand to crush those blades. But when he touched it, the divine body was slashed by the blades, and the divine power dropped instantly. But the vortex of reincarnation is getting smaller and smaller, and will eventually crush him completely. At this time, everyone was staring at Broly, especially the true spirit, looking forward to Broly's fall. It's almost hurry up. True spirit couldn't help urging Broly's death. Wu Zuo was also very excited. I just said Wushuang, old brother. this Broly will surely fall today, and even if the of death comes, he will not be able to save him. Originally, he was in a panic to ask for help from the Realm King. But now that Jian Wushuang has the upper hand, he ignored the voice transmission of the Realm King. Jian Wushuang, Shang looked at the former junior, who is now a towering tree, with mixed flavors for a while. He had thought that one day he would carry the banner of Qishan Temple. Unexpectedly, he, the successor of Qishan Temple, was only a bystander in the end. They don't even have the ability to fight. The powerful aura spreads. It's not that he doesn't have the ability to participate in the war. And he can't even get close. Luo also has some losses, but like Shang, she still has the respect for Jian Wushuang. In the past, when I heard Jinling talk about Jian Wushuang, I would still be a little unconvinced. I feel like I am the protagonist of this era. Seeing Jian Wushuang's peak combat power today, I was completely convinced. Samsara sword with everyone's chessboard, devoured Broly completely, and fell into the crack of time and space. 1. Everyone shouted. Even Hui Qing leaked a smile. Dongsheng and Wanyan jumped up directly. Cough cough. Jinling pretended to be calm at this time. What are you doing? The extermination hasn't come out yet. I don't know if Jian Wushuang destroyed the Temple of Extermination. Indeed, this is not the time to relax. There is also the threat of extinction. Cannot be careless. When everyone saw Jinling speak, they quieted down. However, Jian Wushuang below never raised his brows, because he can still feel the source of death, returning to the Temple of Destruction. The Temple of Destruction made a humming sound, and then the entire hall trembled. The power of death after the return, in the Temple of Destruction, once again condensed Broly's true body. Swish! Broly, with a sense of oppression, walked out of the Temple of Destruction, and appeared in front of everyone again. Tisk! Broly raised his head, and looked at Jian Wushuang with disdain. When everyone in the Qi Temple saw this scene, their scalps numb and their backs were cold. They never thought that Broly was still alive. Didn't this fall? Is it invincible? Not killed at all. Hui Qing, Hui Qing. Jinling turned to look at Hui Qing and said eagerly. Quickly deduce Broly's flaws. Hui Qing, who practiced the Zen machine, is best at deduction. Injury to the divine body did not prevent Hui Qing from deducing. At this time, Wu Zuo was also very anxious. He had already transmitted all the things here to the Realm King, and wanted to find a way to break the situation. The Temple of Destruction is too special, is an artifact, but he was able to resurrect the fallen Broly. How to fight this? And after the resurrection Broly, the breath is different, obviously stronger than just now. Now the sword of reincarnation is no longer enough to kill the opponent. I can't deduce it. Hui Qing shook his head. If he could deduce it, he would have done it long ago. It was the Temple of Destruction, a divine weapon. Miexing is also a star god. He is the master of the universe in the 8 tribulations realm. If he can deduce it, he will be in hell. Seeing Hui Qing's dazed look, Jinling gritted her teeth, not knowing what to do. No way, who made Jian Wushuang owe too much? This time only one person can carry it. Hui Qing also had remorse in his heart. If he had known this, he would have taken precautions. Without being injured, he can also help Jian Wushuang share the pressure. Can only watch now. At the same time, the source and divine body and the body are constantly recovering. It just takes time. I hope that within this time, Jian Wushuang will not have an accident. Wow! Jian Wushuang was suspended above the magma, and the thick smoke made him unrecognizable. But the sword in his hand was particularly dazzling. As I guessed, you really don't fall so easily. Facing Broly, he was relaxed, and the sense of oppression was numb to him. Don't get nervous about it. Broly also stared at him, but did not speak, just stood quietly, but the breath on his body broke out again and again. The rising divine power has hit the 20 million mark again and again. I want to break the limit of the northern time and space. This kind of action made the entire northern time and space tremble. The Realm King felt it clearly. It's just that he is not in the northern time and space, but in the world continent. Which great Realm King is visiting? and I want to know about the death from there. When Weiss left, told Jian Wushuang that he had to solve this matter by himself. That is to say, no one cares about the sky. There are very few people in the Realm God continent who can help the Realm King. Practitioners can't help. The gods look down on him. At this point, the Realm King himself was quite speechless, and he imposed the concept of respecting the strong on himself time and time again. But for those things in the past, he doesn't regret it. Even in this situation, he doesn't regret it now. Just regret. If the deity hadn't fallen, how could an alien star be bullied like this? He also asked a cultivator to stand in front of him, and he was useless as a Realm King. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.